everything that's pop culture and geek related. I'm your host, Trevor, here at WMSC Upper Montclair, and on today's show, we'll be talking about why heist films are insanely awesome, why Young Justice and My Hero Academia are two of the best comic book shows that are animated, and also we'll be talking about streaming services and breaking down what we like, which streaming services that I like, and hopefully Alex will come in time. And also we'll be talking about what shows we watch on those streaming services. And after that we'll be talking about the Geek Pulse. There's been a lot of geek news this week. A lot of stuff has been going on. So, also we have our 21st century horror movies. Horror films, scary or not, like Hereditary, and we'll be talking about that later on in the show. We'll be also talking about the horror meltdown, which a lot of horror news has been going on this week, and after that will be the Fast and Furious overview, where I'll be talking about the Fast and Furious franchise, and also what is your guilty pleasure films series and why, and what makes a comedy movie work, both good and bad. But before all that, we'll be talking. Let's get into today's lovely weather. It is currently 45 degrees outside, and it is currently really interestingly cold. Like not like cold, just like chilly. But I'll be reading the international news because there's been a lot of interesting news going on this week, international wise. So I'm reading from apnews.com. Trump to meet North Korean leader on February 27th and 28th in Vietnam. President Donald Trump will hold a 2-day summit with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un on February 27th and the 28th in Vietnam to continue his efforts to persuade Kim Jong to give up nuclear weapons. So that's the serious stuff. So let's get into the fun stuff. Let's get into the stuff that's you love, like that I love talking about, and that people know that it should be fun. It should be fun and relaxing. So, obviously, what makes a heist film? What makes up a heist film? Like for me, like when I sat down to think about what I love about heist films and what I personally enjoy about heist films, it's a lot. It's generally a lot. I love it. For me, like I grew up loving that stuff. I grew up loving the enjoyment of heist films, and like I grew up loving that stuff. So for me, like heist movies are just fun. They're about teams and what makes up like a really good heist film. And it's just like,
what does it take to steal 500 million in 3.5 minutes?
Can't be done.
We don't have the manpower,
time, or a way.
I know people who really know how to hurt.
So that was a quick clip from one of the Ocean's 13 movie, which is a really good franchise in my opinion. This is my opinion. But for me, like when I sat down to really think about like what I love about heist movies, I have 3 things that I love. For me, like the team aspect of it, like how it's written like a team movie first, and not just like a normal like crime movie. It's normally written like a typical like a typical fun action set piece. Like it's not like typical fun action. It's like very, very intense, which I love. I love that stuff. For me, like, I grew up loving, like, Ocean's 11. Like, that for me was, like, Ocean's 11 was quintessential heist films. So you're probably asking yourself, what makes up a good heist film? For me, it's all about the dialogue and how the characters are written. This is coming from a person who loves movies and loves enjoying movies a lot. And this is coming from a person who says, yeah, I love that stuff. For me, like, it's kind of like, for me, it's like the moment where you're just like, yeah, the team gets together and it's really fun. and it's really like, and it's really addictive. It's like, for me, it's really like a lot of fun. It's just, when I sat down to like, there are two films that I feel are very important in my life that are heist films. For me, it's just the idea of like the the Ocean's franchise, and the Italian Job, I think the original one, because I love the original one. I love more of the original movies, because I love the idea that the original movies were more unique at the time. Because for me, when I'm like, yeah, this is really cool, and I love every second of it. So for me, it's basically a lot more about the characters. When you see a heist film, it's more about how characters act, how characters speak, and all that stuff. And for me, that's what makes a heist film so interesting. Like in the original Ocean's 11 remake by Steven Soderbergh, who's a great director. He directed it like very much like a team movie, which I love. Like, each character had their different personality, each character had their different way of doing things. But before that, before I break down more Ocean's 11 stuff, we'll go to a break, and we'll go into a song. So sit back. And we are back here at Geekly. Welcome back. That was How Do You Love by Shine Down. I like that. So back to heist films. What, like, for me, when, like, I enjoy, like, okay, the connection. What connection does film and heist films have? Somebody brought this up to me in a YouTube. I saw this in a YouTube video, but I knew this a little bit earlier on. Heist films and filmmaking go together because of this idea of this concept of filmmaking being like a heist movie. Like, you have to set up the perfect team, you have to set up the perfect plan, you have to set up everything, and it has to create the ultimate goal is to create a movie. The ultimate goal in a heist movie is to ultimately get what you want. And for me, like Steven Soderbergh said in a recent interview, he said like Logan Lucky was kind of like that for him, where he thought back to the essence of filmmaking and what makes up a film. And I'm like, yeah, Logan, like, like for me, like when I think about that, I'm like, yeah, as a filmmaker, I see that a lot. Like, I see that so much. Like how you set up this, how you set up that. It's all about setting up the perfect plan, and all setting up about the perfect idea and the perfect concept. It's really interesting for me, because a good heist film is really good. A bad heist film is not as good, but it's still like fun to watch. Like you have those movies that just don't work as a heist movie. They work as something else, like just a basic crime movie or something like that. But when you sit down, okay. So for me, like, the heist films that I connected with a lot were like films that were just about people being together and people connecting and creating this team of like people. Like in the Italian Job, the original one, the remake, you have movies like Ocean's 11, Ocean's 12. Unfortunately, that movie's hit or miss for me. It's just a hit or miss, because for me, when I saw it, it was just okay. It wasn't as good as the first one, because the first one's a knock in the park, and everybody will tell you that. But for me, like, somehow it's just not as interesting as it could be. It's like, for me, it's just like, how well do I know the characters in Ocean's 11, in Ocean's 12? And for me, Ocean's 13 is like a back to basics heist movie. Other heist films like the Thomas Crown Affair, I haven't watched, to be honest. There's some heist films that I haven't watched. There's some that I watched and personally thought they were okay and weren't as good as I thought they would be. Like, for me, like, the remake of Taking Pelham 1, 2, 3, even though that's not technically a heist film, it's kind of a heist film, and it's kind of in this weird subcategory of heist films where it's just like, it's a heist film, but it's not at the same time. It's this whole weird sort of thing where the heist film is where it's like, it's weird. Taking Pelham 1, 2, 3, the original one and the remake, it's just in that weird in between of like heist film, but not, and it's really interesting. Like for me, like what makes up a quintessential heist film is the idea of setting up the team, like this idea of like what makes up the characters, what makes up every unique character is the most interesting part. Like for me in Ocean's 11, when they set up like when they start setting up the heist for they start putting together the team, is personally one of my favorite moments in film history, in cinema history, because it's so funny because it goes right into this and you're just like, okay, like especially the scene where the two brothers are, I can't say the whole scene, but it's one of the funniest scenes possible. They're basically the one brother is driving a monster truck, the other one is driving an RC car, and the brother just runs over the RC car and just laughs about it. And for me, that's really funny because I just love the idea of like him just being like, "Yep," and being like, "Oops," and like for me, like Ocean's 12 didn't have that same sense of like shock and like awe to it. It had more like, oh, so this is a movie. Okay, Terry, I guess this character's coming back. I guess that character's coming back. It's okay. It's not as complex. It's still not like interesting to me. Like Ocean's 12 is just too much of a revenge movie, which I didn't like for Oceans. I never wanted an Oceans movie with revenge and like that sort of thing in it, because for me, like, I don't want an Oceans movie with like revenge. But speaking of Oceans, I have to speak, of course, about Ocean's 8. And I'm not here to offend anybody. I'm not here. This is my honest opinion. I don't think Ocean's 8 is as good as it can be. And in my honest opinion, when I sat down to watch it, I saw the whole movie. And I'm like, they could have added two things to the movie that would have kind of redeemed it, would have made it like a 7 out of 10. And it's not the fact that I don't like the characters, it's the fact that I just don't think the comedy wasn't as there as I wanted it to be. And the moments that didn't feel right weren't right. It's not that. It's just for me, like, I wanted the film to be more interesting than I thought it would be. But they could have added Matt Damon's character from the Oceans movie. That would have been fine. Ruben was a cameo, spoilers. But it's just, for me, when I sat down to watch it, there were two characters that I just felt weren't. There were two scenes that I just didn't feel were right. The scene with the grave, the scene with the cemetery, that felt very weird and very out of place. Because I'm like, this is so weird. This is just so not Oceans. Oceans movies should be fun and really enjoyable. This felt more like, yeah, it's fun. It's more like, yeah, we're fun. Like, in a very sarcastic manner, like, yeah, we're fun. But for me, like, the things that make up a bad heist film are so interesting to me. Like, the things that make up a bad heist film for me are less interesting characters, the plan being simple and not interesting and complex enough, the concept of the story not being as appealing or sounding too familiar from a certain film. Like the perfect example, like, for me, like, I don't know what a perfect example of a bad heist film is, because I have to look up in a second, but for me, like that, what, in my opinion, makes up a bad heist film, it's the idea that the plan is so simple that it's not complex and it's not as untangling the web as interesting as it was. I could have told you from Ocean's 8, like, the character of Anne Hathaway was going to be on their side. Like, from the get-go. Like, and it's not the fact that I didn't like it, it's the fact that I could see stuff coming from a mile away. I kind of don't like seeing stuff coming from a mile away. That's why I like the original Ocean's 11, the remake of Ocean's 11. I didn't see stuff coming from a mile away. I only saw small snippets of stuff coming from a mile away, but not everything. Not the fact that a certain character, like, would break his hand or something like that. I don't know, because for me, I love the idea of not knowing anything when I go into a heist movie. I love the idea. But for me, the one film franchise that the one film that I think is a really fun heist film is Fast and Furious. Now, Fast and Furious for me, we'll get into this later in the show, but Fast and Furious 5 is what introduced me to the franchise. It's what said to me, this is really fun. This is really seriously a fun time at the movies. For me, like, it was like the fun movie of like, yeah, this is fun. But like, it just seemed more like, so for those who don't know the Fast and Furious franchise, we'll get into more detail about it later on. But the Fast and Furious franchise is basically this over-the-top action series that got progressively over the top with each movie and each installment of the franchise. Like, Tokyo Drift is, I'll explain more. But for me, like, Fast 5 is what introduced me to the franchise. It's the one that said to me, this is really fun. This is a really fun franchise. I love it. And it just said to me, you know, you can have a lot of fun at this movie. I'm like, yeah, I can. It's really fun. It's like, and I'll be back with more thoughts on, heist films after these messages and Me and Michael by MGMT, because, yeah, we'll be back. And what is up, guys? We're back at Geekly. Welcome back. And I'm gonna like to introduce the Fast and 5 topic. I'm gonna play a little clip. A little clip. Just.
Walking or we racing? We'll do one last job.
You realize this is the most powerful guy in real?
This is $100 million. You say what?
So speaking about Fast 5, for me, like, when I first saw it, it was really interesting. It was really, like, it's for me, like, it was a really fun film when I first saw it, and I really loved it. I think I saw it at the library, and I got it at the library, and I just loved every second of it. For me, it was just a fun, enjoyable heist movie that reminded me of the movies from, like, the early, like, probably from the 90s. It was more of, like, it more felt like a 90s over-the-top action movie and a heist film as also the backdrop. It was, like, the characters, I love the characters of Fast and Furious. It's just, they're just all fun characters, and they're all just really, obviously love the movie a lot, and they obviously love the characters a lot. But, like, for me, like, I just love every second of it. I loved every second of, like, the overtop nature of, like, the film. Like, the scene where they're driving the safe in Rio, and they have two cars attached to the safe. It's really a spectacle to be seen. And we have a special guest coming on. We have Javier, my boy. What's up? Anywhere.
All right.
You can sit anywhere.
Thank you, sir. I'll sit right here, actually.
Yes.
What's going on? Am I on?
Yeah, you're on.
I'm on. I'm live.
You're alive.
We're doing it live?
We're doing it live.
What's up, man?
So I was just talking about Fast 5 and Ocean's 11.
Oh, we talking heist movies, right? Like you told me?
Yeah.
All right. I'm excited. This is fun.
For me,
very excited.
Yeah, like when I was talking about Fast 5 and how much it's a surprisingly fun movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like my first Fast and Furious film.
Yeah, that was I think I saw 4 and then 1. The one where they finally bring back Vin Diesel and Paul Walker.
Yeah.
I think I saw that one, then I got curious and watched the first. I watched the second and third like years later, but
Yeah.
I feel like the first, just to go on it for a little bit, I think that the first like 4 movies, they kind of have this like cult appeal, I think.
Yeah,
where they're
do.
like fun, they're okay, they're good fun movies.
They're good fun.
But then I think when we got to the 5th, I think that's when Fast and Furious was like, oh man, this is just like good.
This is just like good. This is like
this is just a really great action movie.
It's like a great action franchise that somehow like it turned from a Point Blank copycat.
Mm-hmm.
A Point Break.
Point Break?
Break.
Point Break. Yeah, with Keanu Reeves.
Point Break copy.
I am an FBI agent. Yeah, man.
Like
I saw that over the break last year. It was phenomenal.
It's
just
phenomenal.
so Keanu Reeves is awesome.
It's just for me like I just love the fact that it's so ridiculous. The first ones are so small.
Yeah, they
and then
are.
when you get to Fast 4 and it's like has Dom's secret power of like him looking at the
he's like the car whisperer.
Yeah,
or whatever.
he's like the car whisperer.
Yeah. That was something. That's when it first starts to get like away from street racing into just action and ridiculousness.
Yeah.
They're like basically the Avengers now. The Fast and Furious movies.
They're
it's
basically
kind of insane.
like the Avengers.
But 5, man.
But 5
blew my mind. I still love that movie.
5 brought me in, and because like I saw the scene where the two cars are attached to the safe.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that scene. I'm like, that's really fun. That's a really fun concept.
I agree.
I've never seen that in a movie before.
I agree, man. But yeah, did I introduce myself? Should I introduce myself?
You should.
Should I?
You should.
Yeah. I know we just got really excited and wanted to go all in, but I'm Javier.
This is Javier Reyes.
Yeah. Trevor was my apprentice DJ last semester.
Yes.
I think. Yes.
Yes, and now I
last semester.
And now I have my own show.
And now he has his own show. So for those out there who wonder how to get their own show, if you're my apprentice DJ, you're guaranteed to pass. Jack Bartek was the other one.
Jack Bartek.
He's got his own show too.
Yeah, he does.
Hot Take Sports on Saturdays. And for years, first of all, I love the name. Big fan of the name.
Yeah,
I like it. Short, simple, gets to the point. Better than my name, personally. Seriously. I like it much better.
I had my friend Adriana came up with the name. I didn't come up with the name.
Still.
I love this name because it's just like I love it because hopefully in the coming weeks I'll be talking about Avengers. I'll probably have an Avengers pregame. Like, you know how people have the Super Bowl pregame?
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to have the
People have pregames to a lot of things, yeah.
No, I'm going to have an Avengers pregame for Avengers Endgame because I'm going to probably go see it on Thursday night.
Of course.
And I'm going to have an Avengers pregame for it.
That's going to be interesting. What's your take on that? Because for me, so far, I'm really excited at the prospect that they're not going to show a lot.
I'm happy.
I think, the rumor is that they're only showing
the first 20 minutes.
30 is what I heard. But
30.
Whatever, it's whatever.
First 30, first 20.
There's 20, 30, whatever.
And
but bottom line is they're only showing a certain segment in all of the shows. That's the rumor. And so far, I think that what we've seen that plays true. That rings true.
I don't know what when I saw my favorite joke was the somebody posted on Reddit the picture of Citi Field. And they're like, this is what the Mets, the Mets.
This is what the Mets look like without the events of Infinity War anyway. So it's kind of a poor example to use. You probably should use Yankee Stadium. It's always like that.
I'm sorry.
It's pretty ridiculous.
I just love that. That one just made me laugh so hard. But going back to heist films, and I have another topic if you want to go into that. For
sure, man. But I know you brought me on for heist films. I know that's your big thing.
But for me, what do you think makes up a good heist film?
For me?
Yeah.
Well, you need some good leads, first of all.
Yeah.
You need some good leads. And I think the other thing you need a crew that's diverse, both with the way they operate. You can't just have a bunch of smart people, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You can't have, to use an Ocean's example, you can't have all the George Clooney characters.
No.
You know what I mean? Because then it just feels it's a little bit redundant and whatnot. You need some wild cards in there. You need some funny people. You just need a mixture. I think that's what makes heist movies work the most.
I think my favorite thing is about the Ocean's movies.
Mm-hmm.
They're more realistic. They're more realistic.
Yeah.
They're more realistic, but I don't want to say how.
I mean, Soderbergh's great, obviously.
Soderbergh is Did you see his? You didn't see Logan Lucky, but
no, I know a lot of people like that movie though.
I loved it.
Yeah, people liked it, but it was weird.
It wasn't weird for me because I'm like, that's just the South.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's just the South.
What's interesting is like, it's like a cartoonish. Oceans is like very cartoony but real at the same time.
Yeah.
Where all the things that they're saying to each other, it feels like it's a bit. It feels like they're all in on messing with each other. Like they all are messing with each other all the time, but they do it in ways that isn't like slapsticky or.
Yeah.
It's just really well written and. Like, it's just the little things the little, mannerisms that each actor has. And I think that that's the key is to make somehow the prospect of robbing a casino or, basically just casinos, like, plausible when it really isn't at all.
It really isn't.
But they make it goofy and believable somehow. And I think that's what works. And it sounds like easy to do that. Like, oh, make it, not every movie makes impossible sounding things look, what's the word?
Look.
Like they don't look. Sometimes it's like really hard to make it look possible. Sometimes they punt on it.
They don't look simple.
Like we mentioned Fast and Furious.
Yeah.
They decide to say, forget it. We don't care if it doesn't look plausible.
Yeah.
We're just going to make something as ridiculous as possible.
Yes.
I think you don't want to be caught in the middle ground where something's both ridiculous and barely plausible.
Yeah.
Where you're clearly trying to be real, to get like a little insider on it. That's what how I view things. Like for an example, like just this came to mind, like Olympus Has Fallen. Where that movie's
just,
totally unrealistic, but I feel like they
just ridiculousness.
I thought that they were trying a little. I think once the movie did what it wanted to do, which was just have Gerard Butler running around killing terrorists by himself, like basically like a Die Hard movie.
Yeah.
I think that's when the movie got really, really good, and it was really fun. I mean, that movie's basically Die Hard. At least when everybody dies and it's just him.
It is basically Die Hard.
Not the whole way through, but up to that point.
No.
You know what I mean? It's like if you extend the scene.
Yeah.
Of John McClane boarding the plane and stepping off at Los Angeles, but you extend that by like an hour. And then the good stuff of Die Hard, that's like 35, 40 minutes of Olympus Has Fallen.
Yeah.
But, I think that heist movies are great, man. I'm always in on a heist movie.
Heist movies are always fun, but I was saying this earlier, I don't think Ocean's 8 is as good as it can be. I didn't think it was as good as it should have been, and as good as it could have. I can't speak today. Words. But for me, like I was saying this earlier, it's not the fact that I didn't respect Ocean's 8, it's the fact that I just didn't feel like it was as interesting as Ocean's 11 or Ocean's 13 or Ocean's 12, which was okay, but it still wasn't as bad as Ocean's. Like for me, like Ocean's 8 wasn't the worst one. It was just for me just uninteresting.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of flat air.
Yeah.
I got into a fight with some friends of mine who then said that I was sexist because I didn't like it. But they were kidding, of course. Yeah. I didn't like it because I thought everybody in it was pretty good, especially Anne Hathaway. I thought Anne Hathaway was the one who was like really going for it in that movie.
Yeah, she was. I'm like, if you had more Anne Hathaway more Anne Hathaway cast.
It felt like there was too many characters trying to play it cool. Well, not entirely. I just feel like they didn't separate themselves enough, or there was just this really like a feeling of dead air watching that movie.
Yeah.
Where like they had the idea and they had interesting characters and they kind of knew where they wanted to go with it, but it's like they didn't flesh it out as much as they could. I thought it wasn't funny, and I think that was a key thing with 11, where I thought the movie's actually hilarious at a lot of points.
Yeah.
It's one of my like 3 favorite movies ever.
It has one of my favorite moments, which I can't repeat, which is the two brothers fighting over the balloons.
Oh yeah. You can't say any of that.
Yeah.
But balloon boy, always the balloon boy. It's just so good. I don't know why. It just makes me laugh. I like that and Basher, who's played by Don Cheadle in that movie. Oh my gosh. There's a line that I can't say on radio that I repeat all the time with my mom when Matt Damon's character goes rogue and tries to when they're stealing the EMP thing.
Yeah.
And he goes rogue and they realize where is he? And then when he gets he's like, you stupid. He says, you know what?
Yeah.
I say that all the time because in his voice it's so funny. I don't know why. But that movie balances goofiness with being grounded at the same time and being serious at points. But also it's just funny. And everybody in that movie seems like they get it. And it seems like they all had a lot of fun on set. For 8, it feels like they might have had fun on set only when Anne Hathaway started being there. And the rest of it they were kind of like, yeah, we're going to do this. But I think they took it. They didn't find the right balance.
They didn't find the right balance.
Yeah.
But going into the next topic. Can I go into the next topic?
I don't know. You still want to keep going on heist movies? Because I know there are more. Unless you want to keep going. I'm here until 2:15ish.
I want to keep going.
All right, you want to keep going? It's your show. You can do whatever you want, man.
I want to do something.
That guy's already saved 100 people in me.
Oh
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
No. We're doing it?
Yeah.
Because I am here.
Yes, we're going to be talking about Young Justice and My Hero Academia. Yes.
Oh my gosh, I'm all in.
I love, like, for me, like, when I first, I'm talking about Young Justice, why Young Justice and My Hero Academia are two of the best comic book shows right now, currently.
Right.
Like, just right now, currently.
Mm-hmm.
For me, like, for those who haven't seen Young Justice Outsiders, it has been like a PG-13 superhero animated TV show.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it.
The first 2 seasons are like PG.
I've only seen one.
The first
season.
The first season is like PG. The second season is PG. The third season is like PG-13.
Wait, what are they on right now? I'm sorry.
Season 3.
They're on 3, and that's with the DC streaming service, right?
That's with the DC streaming service.
Now, what's interesting about this, first of all, the guy who voices Superboy, I don't know if you know this.
It's just McCartney.
No, this is Nolan North. I'm talking about the first 2 seasons.
Oh,
anyway.
yeah, he's still doing it.
He's still doing it? All right, and Nolan North is the voice of Nathan Drake in the Uncharted series, so I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah, for me, like, I saw Young Justice first before I saw My Hero Academia, and the Young Justice came first before My Hero Academia. But it was probably a manga before that. But for me,
pretty sure it was.
But for me, like, when I first saw Young Justice, it was like lightning in a bottle. It was like, this show is about sidekicks dealing with the fact that they're sidekicks, and also dealing with the fact that they're also teenagers, and dealing with the problems of being a teenager. And it was a really well written show, and it was done by the guy who showran Gargoyles, one of the writers of Gargoyles.
Right.
And he did a fantastic job behind it. And I'm like, this guy knows how to write characters. He knows how to write aspects of it that I never thought that a superhero TV show would do. Because during that period of time I was also watching The Flash.
Right.
And The Flash was just not as.
You're talking about CW, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I saw the first season of The Flash, and I liked it a lot. But then I remember what are they on, like 4 or 5 right now?
4 or 5.
I remember because my best friend, who's probably not listening right now, but his little brother, not that much younger than him, but his brother, like, loves watching The Flash for some reason.
Yeah.
And I remember we went over back to his house, and his brother was watching, and I was like, what on earth happened? And I wasn't even trying to be, like, mean about it, and I was just like, there's like an evil version of himself in the future, and then there's also this, and then there's a giant shark. I'm like, what happened? Like, I know that the comic book stuff can be cheesy and it's sometimes endearing, but I'm just like, what in the world is going on with the Flash right now?
But like, you talked a lot about My Hero Academia on your show.
Oh yes, I did.
So like, for those who don't know, can you give like a brief summary of My Hero Academia?
Brief summary of My Hero Academia is basically Sky High on steroids. That's what I would call My Hero Academia. Yes. But essentially, the main premise of the show / manga is that 80% of the world's population has a quirk or power. Now, these can vary, obviously, and basically can be, you have the ability to spit fire, or you can. But it's really creative. Like, it's not just typical superpowers. It's all over the place, and there's fire involved and stuff like that. There's people who are really smart, but only when they drink tea. There are people who. What was one of them that I liked? There's like someone who's a frog. There's someone who controls a shadow. There's someone who
my boy Dark Shadow.
Yeah, Dark Shadow. There's some people who have heat and cold. There are people who can create things. There are people who have grapes coming out of their head. It's anything, and that's the whole point. Is that most of the world has something.
It is like Sky High.
Yeah, and what's interesting about the show is that it is. Essentially, this whole superheroing and using your powers has now become a profession and a way of life, and there's like a whole system behind it. And then you follow this one kid whose idol is someone by the name of All Might, who's the world's #1 hero.
Yeah.
And he wants to be like him. However, his problem is that he does not actually have a quirk. He's one of the rare people who was born without one. And the show goes from there. Now, one thing. The All Might, I basically call him, he's basically Superman. That's like the comparison. What I like about the show so much, and you can get into it too probably, it is really smart in a lot of ways with how they deal with their characters. And it basically is like a love letter to comic book stuff. Like, there's clearly a lot of inspirations. The guy who made it says this all the time.
For me, for me, when I first watched it, I watched One Punch Man before this, and it was just a more like simpler, like it more felt My Hero Academia felt like a comic book show. It felt like the most honest take about comic books and being like, this works and this doesn't work. These characters are awesome, this character is awesome, so let's build from that. And it's like creating their own mythology.
Right.
Like, My Hero Academia is like creating their own mythology, which I love.
Right.
And like, for me, like, even comic book creators love it. Like Rob Liefeld, a bunch of...
Yeah, it pays respect to these things. It
Yeah.
doesn't do like a... I think a lot of people think when they start going to a dark place with comic book stuff where they want everything to be darker. This is like, it can be dark, but it's mostly like it's...
Hopeful.
It just has everything. Like, it has characters who are super cynical. It has people who are mean. It has people who are extremely grounded. And then it has... It's just... It takes cliches of characters and turns them on their head for the most part. And that's what I like about it is there's... You know, I've mentioned before, like, Naruto's like one of my favorite shows ever. But I do think that show is great, but I think that Academia, from what I've seen so far in its first 3 seasons, just the collection of characters that are there. It's basically a class. There's a school called UA, which is like the #1 hero school in the nation, which is where you follow the main character and where he goes. Spoiler alert, I guess.
Yeah.
But,
it's like in the first episode, like they say, this is a story of how he became the greatest hero of all time.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
That's what's
I
cool.
love that because it gives you an idea of where he's going to be at the end.
It's really interesting.
And it's like,
really interesting.
And for me, like, people who are like, I'm like, if you're a comic book fan, I'm like, I loved it.
Yeah.
I love the fact that it paid homage and it did things that I personally wanted to see in a comic book show. But we have to take a quick break.
We do.
We'll be right back.
All right, cool.
And we are back here at Geekly. I'm your host, Trevor, here at WMSC Upper Montclair.
Trevor who?
Trevor Joya.
There we go.
It's like...
Just want people to know, man.
No,
you gotta make sure people know.
No, it's like my last name is so hard to pronounce. Like
Yes, true. But you gotta make sure people know how to pronounce it.
To walk people through.
Because I used to say Goya for the longest time.
It's pronounced Joya. It's like joy.
I think.
How you pronounce the word joy?
Yeah.
And it's like that. It's like
Joya.
Joya.
Yeah.
Joya. It's like
I
that.
got you, man.
So for people who want to meet me, just say it's like Joya. It's like joy.
Just say that. Don't do what I did and refer to him as Goya for like the whole semester without realizing it.
Oh my gosh.
Definitely don't do that.
Yeah. For me, like I when I saw, like, obviously for me, like, Young Justice is like the American version of My Hero Academia. Is not the American version of My Hero Academia, but it does things that My Hero Academia does well, and it does things that My Hero Academia doesn't do well with.
Okay. So you're saying it does things better?
Yeah.
Interesting. I have to see it, but you know
me,
I love
for
Academia.
For me, the villains, Alex will kind of agree with me. The villains in Young Justice are more fully developed.
Okay.
That
makes sense. They also have more of a history to them.
Yeah, they
just
have
when you
more
look
of a
at
history.
DC Comics and all that.
But like for me, like their fights with the villains are more interesting. And like Alex is coming in probably soon at like 2:20ish or something. I think we have a caller.
We have a caller, really?
Yeah.
Who's that? Ow.
Oh.
What's going on? You good there?
Hello?
Melillo. We do, and he is the host of that show. AJ Melillo is the host of the show Sons of Liberty, which is one of the main political talk shows on WMSC. Well, that was random. Okay, that's strange.
Okay.
Could just looked up on the website, I think, but you know.
Okay.
Whatever.
At least I know how to do that.
Yeah. Don't worry about it, man.
Yeah. But going back to like Young Justice, it's like for me, like Young Justice handles their villains like really interestingly. Like really much like they're villains, so they should be like really compelling, and I don't want to say which episode I like an episode, but I can't say which episode it is because it's later in the season of season 1.
Okay.
But it is a really interesting episode. That's all I'm gonna say.
Would you recommend the show to people? Like, what if they're not necessarily big into comic books?
if you're not big into comic books, the teenage drama in this is really complex.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's more about, like, these kids, these sidekicks who are dealing with the fact that they're also teenagers. And they also have to deal with the fact that they also have personal problems with each other. It's more about, like, the characters are more three-dimensional than you would think.
Right.
Like, they're more like My Hero Academia is, like, three-dimensional.
Right.
Young Justice is also three-dimensional in that aspect of, like, the characters are each unique in the sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Martian Manhunter's daughter, McGann,
Right.
is really interesting. Artemis is interesting. I don't want to go into full spoilers.
Yeah, man. I mean, people, like, they could probably check it out. Do you know if it's on Hulu or anything like that?
It's not.
It's not. That stinks. Like the first season, I'm saying.
The first season I
Maybe.
bought.
I remember seeing, because I saw the first season on Netflix.
I bought it. I bought it on iTunes.
Okay. Well, then you can check it out there, I guess, if you'd like, for all the listeners out there.
Yeah, if you like.
But yeah, I haven't seen too much of Young Justice, so
Like,
I can't commentate on it enough. But what I liked about it is it felt like one of those shows that you didn't expect to be, and I think people assumed it would just be kind of fine, and it would be a cartoon kid show. But a lot of people say that it's actually just really going to kind of transcend that.
It's really like, like the second season, there's certain things that I don't like about it, but it's just that. But for me, like, Young Justice is just a really awesome show, in my opinion. This is my honest opinion, not anybody else's.
Yeah, it better be your opinion, or else I'll be upset with you, Trevor.
So for me, like My Hero Academia has these perfect, like, background characters that are just so interesting. Like one of my favorite characters, which is Tokoyami. I love that character.
He's cool. He's cool.
Like I said to the last New York Comic Con, I met the voice actor for Tokoyami.
You did? That was awesome. That was rad. You sent me the picture of that.
And I told him, like, how much I think once he gets control of Dark Shadow, which is his shadow manipulation thing, I said he could be the most overpowered character. Like, one of the most overpowered characters.
A lot of them can be, I think. That's what's so interesting about the show is I can see a lot of the characters in My Hero Academia now that we're talking about.
Yeah.
That could really go in a variety of different directions. And what I like is, I mean, I have to emphasize, like, every character on that show is just really likable. Also, I've mentioned this before, that there's a lot of cool female characters on the show. And that's, one, unique for superhero comic book stuff, and two, unique for anime especially. Anime has a little bit of a problem sometimes when it comes to that stuff.
It is very unique because all the female characters are so well written.
They're really well written. They're both cool and, like, talented in terms of power, stuff like that.
Yeah.
They're not, like, I think that's one thing in Naruto where, admittedly, there's barely any strong female characters. There are ones on there, but most of them just aren't really all that powerful. And in Shippuden, a lot of them become useless. To be fair, almost every character, aside from Naruto, becomes useless in Shippuden. But that's a whole nother thing.
Naruto is like the main character.
Yeah, it's like him and Sasuke. They're like the only useful ones. And maybe Shikamaru because he's smart. But, like, that's a whole other thing. Academia, what I like about it, like I was saying, is it really, what I love about it so much, and honestly, I might even just rewatch it again just to prepare, because next season comes out in October.
In October 2000.
A little bit later than I would have liked.
But I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that because Studio Bones puts in a lot of work.
They do. And
plus this season could be like the regular 26 episodes. Like the 23 episodes.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I love the fact that they do 23 episodes. Because it's just like, for me, they actually put in so much work and care into the anime, which I love.
I agree. I think that, and like I was saying with the characters, I think that what they do really well is you can see a lot of connections to famous superheroes through a lot of these characters. Yeah. The main person I always refer to, he's basically like Steve Rogers, in a lot of ways. That's Izuku Midoriya. He's the main character. All Might is a lot like Superman. Yeah. Et cetera and so on. You can find a lot of similarities there, but it's just smart. Like, I don't understand I don't know what other word to use. Like, it's just a smart show with where they go with their plots. Yeah. And where they go with the characters, and it just works. And it sounds weird, like, if you just look it up and you see all the superhero stuff, and yeah, those things can be really sophisticated sometimes, but this one really, like, the subtext of a lot of the things that are going on, and you realize that the plot, although it is, I don't want to say basic, basic might not be the right word, but maybe it's not gloom and doom. You know what I mean? It is.
Yeah.
It's idealistic, but it's also cynical at its own point, and it just
it's
variety.
Like,
that's
like
how I describe the show.
It's like the old DC comics.
Right.
It's like the old DC comics from like the early 2000s.
That's fair. I like that.
Like you know how like before the New 52, like before it, like
yes,
like those comics. Like it's more like
vaguely familiar.
It's like has that hopefulness and it also has that cynical nature to it. But it has that rough edges to it. Like, for me, like when I watched My Hero Academia, it was such a unique show that I've never seen it before. And it's now 2:00 here at WMSC Upper Montclair.
Not bad.
Not bad.
That good old 90.3 WMSC. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm proud of you, bud.
Yeah.
I like seeing you here. This is cool. So yeah, go on. What were you saying?
But for me, like, I obviously love the fact that My Hero Academia is getting, like you see it at Hot Topic, which is so funny.
Yeah, it's definitely, this isn't like a niche show.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, anime within itself is no longer like really niche. Like
no,
it's not. It's not uncool to like anime. And if people still think that, they just don't talk to those type of people. I think that, like you were saying, you can just see it everywhere. Like it's really become part of the culture. The culture.
Yeah.
As they like to say.
Can I say the weather? Because the weather.
Go ahead, man.
Sorry.
Don't worry about it, dude.
That was just a YouTube video. It is currently here in Upper Montclair. It is currently 44 degrees, and the high will be 45, and the low will be 37, and it's partly cloudy. And there's also like I have a fun international news thing. That's just more silly.
What's the update? What do you got? What do you got for us?
I got snow blankets Utah and as winter storms pounds the west. This is from AP News. I like finding fun, interesting news.
Yeah,
stories.
You need a little fun in there every now and then.
Like because,
there's a lot of serious out there too.
Like because heavy snowfall in Utah, triggered a rare snow day for many students and delayed government operations. Snarled morning commuters as winter storm continues to slam the western U.S. and most parts of Salt Lake City area received 6 inches of snow, more expected on Wednesday. So perfect skiing conditions for Park City, Utah. You know, like Park City, Utah, like the ski resort.
Yes, a little bit, vaguely familiar. I'm not much of a skier. I'm not much of a go outsider.
I'm a skier, so like that's like reading that was like, oh my, that's like amazing. Like 6 inches of snow, 6 inches of powder. That's amazing. Like snow
That'd be
powder.
something. You ever see what's it called? You ever see Merry Christmas, Drake and Josh? I don't know why that came into my mind.
Why did that come to your mind?
Because they like mix snow at the end with powder or whatever. I don't know. Whatever.
That's just a weird thing to say. Like,
yeah, we should probably get back on the regular topic. I think. Let's just pretend that didn't happen.
But for me, like obviously, like Young Justice is. But My Hero Academia is definitely a unique show has a lot of more hopeful, and it's a lot of things, but it's definitely
it does well too. The movie came out and it did really well for a limited
I saw that
release
movie.
Thing. I still haven't seen it yet. It comes out in March, I believe.
It's pretty fun. One of my
you told me. I was very happy that you reported that.
One of my favorite jokes was the Godzilla joke.
Okay. Don't tell me anything, man. You know I'm going to be watching this day one after it comes out, and I'll probably be talking about my show. I'll come back on your show to talk about it. Full spoilers, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm excited, man.
But for me, like, there's 2 moments where I'm just like, okay, this is a perfect filler movie between season 2 and season 3. Like, it's the perfect filler movie. You know how like you have those filler movies that are just like,
yeah, of course,
like not as interesting or not as good.
You could call that movies in general sometimes.
But like for me, like it was like a fun like anime movie. It was like the most fun I had.
Now, for people who are on the fence,
yes,
between both shows, which one would you say? Since we've talked about both kind of ad nauseum here, what do you think that people should watch between the two? Should they what is one more for the other? Is one less for the other? Like,
if you're more into if you're really into comic book history and you're really into finding something new rather than this typical superhero, like the typical big superheroes, watch My Hero Academia. if you're more into like if you're really new to comic books
Mm-hmm.
and you want an interesting show that's complex, that has a lot of stuff, and it's a little bit more complex than the CW shows,
Mm-hmm.
go for Young Justice.
I like that. So if you are kind of intrigued by the whole CW shows,
Yeah.
but you feel like they maybe are a little bit too cheesy or whatever, then you should go with the whatever it's called, Young Justice. But then if you're more seasoned and you're just looking for a kind of a new take on things per se, then My Hero Academia. I agree. I like that. I like that comp there.
I love that because for me, like when I see stuff like that, it's just more like it just more says to me like, yeah, you should watch it. It's not the fact that it's like for me like that's how I explain people to like that's my best explanation of like what people which people should watch it but you're free to watch anything.
Of course, yeah, people are free unless we say so. We could just tell them what they should do. Of course, we're not going to do that.
No.
But yeah, man, this is cool. I can't get over, man. It's really cool that you have your own show. This is
I
rad.
know.
How does it feel? This is
your
what number show is this?
This is my third show.
Your third show. That's what I thought.
And
but I wanted to make sure.
for those who don't know, I have my whole show planned out on my tablet.
Yeah, man. Who'd you get that from? What inspired you to do that?
You.
Yeah. Yeah, basically, because I plan out a lot of the things for my show, too. And I don't know. I mean, not everybody needs to do that necessarily. It depends what your show is, but
I need to.
It's helpful, right?
I need to because for me, it's just like, it's kind of necessary for me.
It's hard to go off the cuff.
Because Mario goes off the cuff.
He does. Mario's a wild one. Shout out Mario Papa.
Shout out to Mario Papa.
Host of Mario's Tuesday Toss-Up every Tuesday 1 to 4.
But
right.
for me, like, I'm still annoyed about the SpongeBob thing. Like the SpongeBob.
Oh, you want to get into SpongeBob now?
Yeah.
Sweet Victory?
Yeah. Can we just say how the Dallas Stars, did you see that on Twitter?
No.
Like the Dallas,
someone was just talking about this with me
like
too.
the Dallas Stars did a better halftime show than the NFL halftime show.
I mean, the NFL, I think the problem is, I've said this before, where I don't have a problem with pop groups, the mainstream pop groups.
Yeah.
I just think that they always choose, not always, but a good amount of times they choose groups that are like 8 years past their prime.
Yeah, they choose, like Maroon 5, they're probably 8 years.
They did Black Eyed Peas they did Madonna one year. I don't know, it's just, and it seems that they're always trying to do these very safe options where, you don't always have to be Justin Timberlake last year. I did not enjoy that either.
Oh
I mean, I haven't enjoyed one in a while.
That was so boring.
I mean, the Bruno Mars one is my favorite I've ever seen, and I rewatched it after seeing the Maroon 5 one just to cheer myself up and remind myself that there's still good in the world.
There's still good.
There can still be good in the world. And
there's still good in the world. I love that.
It was not like, I mean, he didn't, it's Maroon 5. I mean, I guess if you're a fan of them, then you might have enjoyed it, but
yeah.
I was watching it and just thinking to myself, who would have not liked Sweet Victory playing right now? Who would have been like, oh no, that was the worst. They played that great song from one of the most iconic shows and most iconic episodes from that show ever. How dare they? And it was, you know what makes me mad, Trevor?
Yeah.
You know what really grinds my gears, Trevor?
What really
is
does?
That there was a red herring. They played it for a second.
They played it for a second.
The video that went viral a while ago where someone mashed together the Travis Scott Sicko Mode with that episode, basically.
Yeah.
And it fit really well. And they do that beginning part, and Travis Scott's on stage, and it's like, this is cool. But wait, is that it? Like, that's all we're doing for the SpongeBob thing? Everyone wanted this. Why couldn't you just do it? It's not hard. Come on.
It's like, I really don't want to, like, for me, like, even though I don't, like, for me, like, the halftime
You don't like football.
I don't like
Is
football.
that what you're trying to say?
But,
it's okay. You can say.
But for me, like, that whole Super Bowl was just a boring Super Bowl.
Oh, don't get me wrong. It was
a boring Super Bowl.
It's the worst Super Bowl I've ever watched.
It was the worst Super Bowl I've.
No halftime show. Didn't have too many movie trailers, honestly. The best part of the game for me was Avengers. And
that was just at the first half.
Yeah, and that was like after the coin toss.
And I'm like, that's it. Like, I'm good. I don't need to watch any more of this.
And the rest of the game was terrible. And it's not just because the Pats won and that I hate the Patriots. It's that it was a boring game.
It was just so like the commercials didn't make up for it, at least for the Super Bowl.
They never can, though.
The NFL 100.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was.
I
really
think it's
cool.
a myth, though, that people think the commercials are like gonna save you. It's like if you watch Super Bowl only for the commercials, sorry to like burst your bubble.
Yeah.
They're like better than average commercials with a couple that are really fun and cool, and that's it. They're also just commercials.
Like
you shouldn't have your happiness or how the rest of your day is gonna be ride on
commercials.
Be predicated on commercials. Like that, just think about that for a second. Like you're excited to watch commercials only.
Yeah.
Like that's your thing. I just think that your standards are a little bit too high if you're expecting to be regaled with like Oscar quality commercials. Like relax. Some of them are great though. And I enjoy the movie trailers.
It's like for me I'm gonna talk about the movie trailers later, but for me the one that I found really interesting was the Twilight Zone one. That was interesting. Like, it interests me. It doesn't like...
Yeah, like, there were some cool ones, but the game was just so deplorable and awful.
Yeah, it was deplorable.
I mean, there's been some boring ones-ish, but for the two that I can think of... Never
in my life have I been wanted to... I basically started watching YouTube videos in the middle of the Super Bowl.
Hey, I don't blame you. I, for some reason, didn't. I should have, but I was like holding out hope that the game would get great at the end.
It was like 3-3, and I'm like, I could already tell in the air. I'm just like, this game's gonna be boring.
It's just unfortunate that a high-scoring NFL season ends like that. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, some people brought up Denver-Seattle from a few years back, and the Carolina-Denver Super Bowls, but yeah, those at least had action. I know one of them, the Seattle one, like they blew out Denver and it wasn't interesting, but at least you got action. And also that was the Bruno Mars halftime show, which I think was tremendous and awesome. I'll never forget my dad just frantically texting me like, "Who is that?" Like he was just he's like, "Was that Michael Jackson?" That was like how surprised he was. Like, "Is this the next Michael Jackson?" Like he was just in awe. And then the Denver one, again, we had Bruno Mars and Coldplay and Beyonce, so at least that kind of was a cool thing. This thing had nothing memorable, and we're biased because we're big geeks.
Yeah.
But honestly, the best thing about this whole Super Bowl for me was the NFL 100 commercial and the Avengers teaser.
Yeah.
It's basically it.
The
Avengers teaser made me think, oh man, tonight's gonna be awesome. If this is how we're starting off, it's got to be an omen of good things to come. But didn't.
You do you have to go soon?
I do in about 4 minutes.
So.
You trying to push me out of here?
No.
Is that what you're trying to do?
No.
How dare you, Trevor?
No. Give your closing thoughts.
My closing thoughts, since you're kicking me off the show?
No, I'm not kicking you off the show.
My closing thoughts are... Let me think. Where should I start? I have a lot of closing thoughts, man.
Yeah.
First of all, Ocean's 11, great movie.
Yes.
Second of all, Fast 5, great movie.
Yes.
Third of all, it's another heist movie.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of another one. But heist movies, really fun. Third of all, I can't help myself. I'm always rooting for the people who are doing the heist, no matter what. I know that, like, well, because in my mind, I'm like, they're combating the system, man. You know what I mean? As long as nobody gets hurt. Like in Point Break, I got mad at the guy who got shot by the gang. Like, I was mad at him. I'm like, yeah, you deserve to die.
Yeah.
Like, it was this whole thing. I'm like, just stay on the floor. They'll be cool. I'm always rooting for the people that are doing the heist, no matter what. I'm always rooting I don't know what it is. And I feel like we all think about one way or the other, like, what if I rob this place? You don't actually realistically think about it. You walk into a bank and you imagine, just because of movies, you're like, what would it be like robbing a bank? You just think about that. And fourth of all, My Hero Academia is the best fiction of our time. Thank you very much, Trevor.
Thank you.
I'll see you later, bud. Have a good rest of your show, man.
Yeah, I will.
For sure.
Thank you.
Had a blast.
And we'll be right back after this break. And welcome back to Geekly. That was the Ballad of Mona Lisa by Panic at the Disco. Some old Panic at the Disco for you. We're back at Geekly here at WMSC Upper Montclair. And obviously, like, that was a really fun topic to get into. Like, the Super Bowl, I'm not a sports fan. I'm not into sports, but the Super Bowl was not as good as it can be. It really wasn't. It was really boring. From a person who followed this sports, kind of followed the football this year, it was okay. It wasn't great. It was just, but yeah, overall, the halftime show was with SpongeBob. That was not nice. That was not nice at all. But it just didn't feel right to do that. It just didn't feel right. Like, just to do Travis Scott, boom, and it's just like, okay, like, I guess that's happening now. So, for me, like, it's just like I don't. It's not the fact that I don't respect the Super Bowl. It's not the fact that I don't like it. It's not the fact that anything like that. It's the fact that when you look at this year's Super Bowl and like the previous years, I'm talking sports for a quick second. It's just not as interesting. It just wasn't as good as it can be. It was just like last year's Super Bowl was like exciting in my opinion because it was like watching a back and forth thing. With this one, it just didn't feel right. None of it felt right. It just none of it. But like when they played Sicko Mode, when they played Travis Scott, I'm just like, okay, this is. I don't get it. I just didn't get it. I was kind of confused at the time because it was just confusing. But for me, it just wasn't as interesting as I thought it would be. So, it's the fact of the matter is, like, obviously, our next topic will be streaming. Obviously, I'm done talking about the Super Bowl and everything like that. We have to get into the next topic, which is streaming services. Streaming services are very interesting in my eyes. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of stuff that you can subscribe to. It's very interesting and it's a very complex thing. But, and this is a huge but, I have only 2 streaming services that I have free technically. But I personally, when I sat down to think about like streaming services as a whole, like the ones that I watch a lot are Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon. I like these 3 for different reasons and for different other reasons. But for me, like, it's a lot about like personal preference and it's a lot about like personal taste in movies and TV shows. And that's what dictates a lot for me. That's what dictates a lot of stuff for me when I sit down and say what streaming services most interest me, which ones do I find appealing, which ones do I not find appealing. And I'm like, for me, Netflix right now, like I'm gonna go into like Netflix is very interesting at what it's doing right now, but it's in the long term, I don't think I'm gonna still want to watch it. It's not the fact that I don't like Netflix anymore, it's the fact that I just don't feel like they're as good as they were when they first started out with Watch Instantly, and they started slowly doing things that I just didn't like. And I guess for me, it was more of like a moment thing where I'm just like, yeah, the moment is nice. It's like complex. I don't know. But when you get into stuff like Amazon, which I personally like a little bit more over Netflix, because Amazon is going after stuff that I personally want to see as TV shows. And like stuff like Invincible, stuff like Tick, like more complex shows and more like shows that I personally like. Like they're gonna have a Lord of the Rings TV show. I don't know when, but there is gonna be a Lord of the Rings TV show from Amazon. And Amazon is like, I think they're coming up with a lot of interesting TV shows, more or less, and Netflix is just buying all these movies and being like, hey, do you want to watch this movie? I'm like, I kind of like watching movies in theaters. It's not the fact that I don't like watching movies on streaming services. It's the fact that I'm fine with watching TV shows on my laptop. Movies are a different story. Movies, when I watch them on a streaming service, I don't like watching them on a streaming service. It's for me, it's more of like a personal preference with me. It's just, when I sit down to watch a movie, I want to be in a theater and I want to be eating popcorn and I want to be hanging out and not focusing on like my battery life, my this and that. I don't want to focus on that. For most of the time, whenever I watch a movie on Netflix or Amazon, I tend to watch or on Hulu. I don't watch movies on Hulu. Hulu has a lot of ad breaks. But for me, like, it's the fact of the matter is that I personally don't think it's that I don't like watching movies on my laptop, like just a small screen and being like, small. I'm just like, no, I don't like that. I like watching it on the biggest possible screen. And it's more of like a thing where I'm just like, I kind of like it a lot more than just anything, because I sat down and said to myself, I like watching a movie in theater and not having to deal with my battery life or anything like that. But for me, like, it's a lot more about, like, it's definitely a lot more about, like, my personal preference, and people can have different preferences to what they watch and how they watch stuff. But I just don't think, for me, when I sit down and watch a movie, I don't want to be, like, focus on everything, focus on this, focus on the fact that I'm watching such a small screen. And I'm more used to TV shows watching that on a small screen, because I'm just like, that's fine. I don't care. Because at least with TV shows, at least it's more interesting to watch stuff on a small screen. Because, like, currently I'm watching Survivor. But for me, like each streaming service has their own flaws, in my opinion, and has their really good points about them. But the streaming services that are upcoming, like DC Universe, I don't find that appealing to me. Like, I'm like, yeah, you can sell me all the DC stuff you want, but it doesn't appeal to me that much. It doesn't appeal to the fact that I kind of don't understand the point of DC Universe. It's not the fact that I don't want it. It's the fact that I just thought to myself, okay, would it be interesting for me? No. Would it be a worthy investment for me? No. Do I like all DC movies? No. And Alex is coming in. Hey, Alex. So basically, going back to that, it's just, for me, like, DC Universe is a really interesting thing. And, like, it's not the fact that I don't want to watch it, it's the fact that I just don't think it's, like, worth the money for me. It's not worth the money. But, you're on.
Hello, my name's Alex.
We're talking about streaming services, we're talking about Netflix, we're talking about talking about streaming service here on Geekly.
Well,
at WMSC.
Trevor, I've overheard about your about the DC streaming service. Is that what you're speaking of?
Yes.
Now, I don't know, like, I haven't seen Titans. I don't know, I'm, like, not personally eager to watch it. That's just me, though. But I have started watching Young Justice Outsiders, and I have to say that that series is so far so good, based on the first 8 episodes I started.
Yeah, that's the one that I think is personally good, in my opinion, because it's just so well written and it's done by people who actually respect the source material.
Exactly.
And it's not the fact that I don't like DC Universe, it's the fact that I just don't like the idea of paying, like, money to
another streaming service
after another.
Yeah, like when you still have Netflix, when it could be easier to have the stuff all on just one streaming service.
Yeah.
Semi-speaking. I mean, I don't know. I think it's all just about their business, you know, like how much take of the money are they getting from Netflix? Probably not much.
Yeah.
But speaking of streaming service, I'm like really curious to see how that Disney streaming service is going to turn out though. I don't know. I mean, I'm like hearing it's going to be like HBO level good.
Yeah, I'm like if it's going to be HBO level good, I'm probably going to look into, like,
then I would definitely watch Disney streaming service. I mean heck, yeah. I would even have it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, like, when I look at the Disney streaming service, it looks more appealing to me.
Yeah, based on the news I keep hearing, like I keep hearing news about the Loki TV series with even Tom Hiddleston in it, or Scarlet Witch or Vision.
Like,
series.
did you hear about the new news about Mandalorian?
Yeah,
like
it
how,
being a TV show and being part of the Star Wars.
No, not that. But how it's gonna have the original trilogy tone.
The original. All right.
The original trilogy, like tone, like the tone and feeling. Of the original.
Okay. I mean, the tone and feeling. That sounds pretty hopeful. Because that's kind of what the original trilogy was about, just hope. I mean, I don't know if I would say that's like the meaning of all Star Wars series. Definitely not the prequel series, but it's like, but that's definitely like the main mantra of the original.
Yeah, it's the main mantra, but I like the idea.
Yeah, I would say so. I could agree with that.
Yeah, like for me, like when I look at it, like, it's just for me, I love the idea of it.
Yeah, I like it too. It sounds pretty good. I believe it'll turn out to be like a good streaming service. I mean, based on like all aside from the Star Wars content, they have the Marvel content.
Yeah, I'm just doing something. Sorry.
Yeah.
But for me, like when you look into that, it's like more interesting somehow.
And plus, I think they even promised that it'd be like the budget would be quite substantial for these series.
Yeah, we have to take a quick break.
Yeah.
And we'll be right back.
Being that it...
Hey guys, we are back here at Geekly. We're here with Alex.
Yes, this is Alex here.
Alex.
And
to give our final thoughts on streaming service, like my final thoughts is like, for me, like I think whatever you feel is most comfortable for you and what you feel is like the best value is what I think you should look into for streaming services.
Yeah, it makes me always wonder how they would like sort of manage their content in their streaming service. Are they gonna put things out or take things away, kind of like what Netflix did this year?
Like for me, like I look at that and I'm like, it's just the fact that I think streaming services need to be, you need to look into it really well.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Like, it's all about just knowing what they have. What do you like?
Yeah.
That's the big question. What do you like?
For me, like, when I sit down to look at it, I'm just like, I think what you like, personally.
Mm-hmm.
So, obviously, we have to get into the geek news of the week, the Geek Pulse.
Yes.
And
news.
There's been a lot of geek news this week.
Oh, yes, that is very true.
I'm going to go into something that happened last week.
Last weekend, yes.
But the Invincible animated series cast has been announced.
Yes, they have.
So for those who don't know, Invincible is a comic book from Robert Kirkman. It is from the early 2000s, like roughly.
Mm-hmm.
The cast for the animated series looks really good.
Yes, they do. I'm excited because I'm like, I mean, I don't know if I would say I'm a big Robert Kirkman fan, but I think this will turn out to be good, right?
Yeah, I think it will.
And aside from that, there's like,
can I read the cast, please?
Yes, read that cast.
J.K. Simmons.
That is crazy.
Mark Hamill.
Okay.
Sandra Oh, Seth Rogen, Stephen Yeun will be the main cast. Will be the character Invincible.
Glenn. Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't seen him in a movie in period.
Yeah. I kind of like that. I kind of like the idea. And in case for those who are wondering, this is a superhero TV show that is R-rated.
Very
R-rated.
Hard R.
Hard R. No pun intended.
Yes.
But it'll be on Amazon in 2020 supposedly.
We have to wait a year. Okay.
So I'm fine with that.
Okay.
But
I think this will turn out to be good. You never know.
But going into other news, James Gunn reportedly is officially now directing Suicide Squad 2, called The Suicide Squad, and he was also...
And it's presumably the reboot of of the first Suicide Squad movie.
And he was also offered the role for Superman, the Superman directorial.
All right, James Gunn.
Do you think that would have been a best fit for him?
It would have been a great fit for him, like either for like Superman or Green Lantern or things like that. But like, but like, I think he just likes to focus on like lesser known characters. Everything underrated.
Yeah.
You know, that's why he became Guardians of the Galaxy director for 1 and 2.
Yeah.
But I think Suicide Squad, you know, I mean, I'm hoping it turns out good. I'm not a fan of the first one, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
but
I don't think many. I think there aren't that many people, but.
Yeah, I mean, what I wonder is like if like it's gonna be almost the same cast, you know, like Jai Courtney as Captain Boomerang, or
I don't know if it's
Margaret Robbie.
I don't know if it's gonna be the same cast, but in other news, Legion to be the last season 3 to be its last season.
Yes, for Legion season 3. I have yet to see season 2, but you know, believe it or not, I actually did enjoy the first season. I just didn't have the chance to watch season 2 yet.
Mm-hmm.
I've been like watching the other FX show called The Gifted, and I don't know. I actually enjoy that show. I don't know why.
Really?
Yes, I do. I do enjoy it. I mean, it's better than it's not cringy at all. I just like it, and like Legion, like it had a good first season. I just didn't get the chance to watch season 2 yet. I probably should be getting to that.
Yeah, you probably should.
Yeah,
it's very trippy.
Yeah, like first I want to get True Detectives out of my way, which I heard is amazing.
Obviously, in other news, FX orders Why the Last Man series.
Why the Last Man? What is that series about, anyway?
It's Why the Last Man. Why the Last Man comes from Brian K. Vaughan. For those unfamiliar with the book, the story follows Yonrick Brown and a helper monkey called Aspen. I don't know how to pronounce it.
A monkey called Aspen?
I don't know how to pronounce it. But they navigate the world where every mammal with a Y chromosome has died of a pandemic, except for them.
Oh my, that sounds hilarious a little bit when you explain it that way.
It's
but
very dark.
It's
Brian K. Vaughan. It's the guy who wrote the saga.
And the series is called
Why the Last Man.
Why the Last Man.
Yeah.
I mean, like that's quite crazy. It sounds like a dystopian.
It's very dystopian.
Series.
Yeah.
And it's a TV series nonetheless.
And it should be a TV series.
And it's even a Y.
Mm-hmm.
And it's based off of a comic, right?
Yep.
Then, okay, yes, I can understand why it needs to be a TV series. I mean, it could be better than the Walking Dead series, for all we know, you know?
I think FX is, like, really choosing really good properties.
Yeah, I mean, FX is really particular with their content. So, like, in terms of TV series, I think they do good.
Yeah. So, obviously, the next topic is Avengers Endgame runtime still at 3 hours.
Yay.
3 hours. This movie's gonna
3
be... And Russo Brothers talk test screenings. You can, it's all over the internet.
I mean, I believe Endgame will be, kind of needs to be a long movie.
It kind of needs to be.
I mean, it's going to be a book ending to like most of the MCU, so that's the only reason you need for it to be long. And plus, that Super Bowl trailer
we'll
showed.
We'll talk about that a little bit.
All right. But the content that these directors do show, I mean, they're quite minimal, and I like that.
I kind of like that too.
Like most trailers don't do that. Like when I look back at the Batman vs Superman trailer, that showed way too much. It pretty much spoiled the entire movie.
So obviously the next topic is the Disney has stated R-rated Deadpool movies will continue at Disney, and other R-rated.
Yes, I heard that
are possible.
Yes, I'm not sure if this was confirmed, but I heard like Disney might have confirmed that Black Widow is an R-rated movie.
I didn't hear that.
I heard that. I mean, you could look it up.
Yeah.
I heard, but I don't think it's 100% confirmed. But it's something they are like really, really like looking into. And yes, Deadpool being kept R-rated. That's a great idea.
So we have to go. We'll be back after this quick break.
Yes.
It'll be like. And we are back here at Geekly. Welcome back.
Hello.
I'm obviously Alex.
Yes, it's Alex.
Yes, it's Alex. So we're going to go into the trailers. The trailers of this week were, because it was a Super Bowl, we got
Super Bowl weekend, a lot of marketing, yes.
A lot of marketing. So let's talk about the Avengers Endgame trailer.
That trailer
we have to break that down, honestly.
Yes, I agree. That trailer was pretty good.
Yeah.
It looks pretty dark. And also like for a moment there, I got this strange feeling of post-apocalyptic, but I don't.
Yeah.
But maybe. But then I got a closer look, and maybe not so much. But it was still it still looks pretty good. Like I enjoy seeing Paul Rudd in the big leagues.
So I'm gonna play a clip of it.
Yes, you are.
Some people, but not us. Not us.
Boy, am I excited for Chris Evans.
Boy, this movie looks. It looks darker.
Yes.
And it looks like you know how you prepare yourself for like.
Yes, I did. I prepared myself for worst case scenario.
I think I'm more prepared for this movie
than you were in Infinity Wars.
Because this movie.
Because you learned your lesson in Infinity Wars. You gotta prepare yourself for worst case scenarios.
So for me, I'm preparing myself by understanding that this is gonna be darker than Harry Potter and Deathly Hallows.
Yeah, probably.
Part 1 and Part 2 combined.
Yeah, probably.
It'll be darker than. Not as dark as DC. It could be.
You never know.
It could be.
You never know. I mean,
but,
they did.
But can we speak about that? Can we speak about there's a missing Avenger?
Yes, there is.
There's a missing Avenger, but who do you personally think it is?
Who the missing Avenger is?
Yeah, there's a certain.
That wasn't shown in the trailer.
That wasn't shown in the trailer.
All right. Well, we saw Bruce Banner. We saw. Were you thinking of him?
No.
Okay.
No.
Well,
I was thinking somebody like Shuri or.
Shuri. She was.
I don't think she's dead.
Oh, I'm sorry to say this, but she was. Based on the first trailer, she was snapped away.
I don't think so.
We saw the hologram.
No, I just don't know if.
I mean, I kind of think she is, but but no, she's not an Avenger even. She's not even an Avenger, not at all.
I think it's Captain Marvel.
Yes, she's missing for sure.
I think it's Captain Marvel
for sure. She is missing.
I think
they're trying to hold off on her presence until the movie comes out.
Yeah.
Like they might be CGIing the you remember in previous trailers like Thor Ragnarok, Avengers Infinity Wars, they CGI'd a lot of scenes of their trailers. And I'm willing to bet that they did the same thing in this one, like that one scene where they're walking in a group. I'm sure that was actually Hulk rather than Bruce Banner.
Yeah.
Yep.
So obviously the next trailer is Toy Story 4.
Yes, I saw that.
4.
I saw that very last minute.
So what do you think of
I can't say I'm super excited for Toy Story 4 because I do wish it ended at 3.
I do wish it ended at 3 too.
But I'm still going to watch it anyway because it's my childhood.
It is my childhood as well.
And I'm just going to watch it nonetheless. And plus I think, it's supposed to be, I'm hearing it's going to be a good send-off for Tom Hanks and Tim Allen.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you know what, yeah, I'm watching this because it's my childhood and, it's, I want to relish it.
Yeah, it was a very fun, I'll play a quick snippet of
classic.
Wow, this place is amazing.
Wasn't Buzz gonna meet us here?
He must be held up somewhere.
I just love this. I just love the fact that.
Hey, up here, Astro Boy.
If you think you can take our top prize spots,
Do you think that's really fun?
Help me get out of here.
That does sound fun.
It does sound fun. It does sound fun. But for me, like when I looked at the trailer, I liked it.
Yeah.
Like I liked the very joking manner of Key and Peele. Like that was really funny.
Yeah, I think this movie will be like
really funny.
Yeah, it'll be pretty fun.
But
I mean, will it beat the third one? I don't know.
No,
I mean, I have to see
I
it
don't
to
know
believe it.
because Toy Story 3 was like the perfect like bookend.
Oh, it was so great.
It was so
oh my God.
like you know how like my mom, she can't watch it without crying.
Oh, that's not good. But I thought that
it's just so much emotions.
It is, yeah. Like when you grow up with the movie, you do develop those kind of things.
So obviously the next trailer was Hobbs and Shaw.
Hobbs and Shaw, yes.
So
yes.
We're gonna go more into Fast and Furious later.
Why can't we be friends?
I love the trailer for this movie. It's so much fun.
We both know why Hobbs and Shaw can't be friends.
Yeah, we both know. But for those who don't know, basically...
Just watch Fast and Furious 6 and 7.
Watch Fast and Furious 6 and 7. You'll understand why.
And 8, of course.
And 8.
Yeah, I can't forget 8.
But for me, like, I like that trailer. It's very ridiculous, and it's starting to show the Fast and Furious going into superhero territory.
Yes.
Which I love.
Yes, with Idris Elba being the villain.
I love that. I love that. Like, don't you just love the fact that he's like a villain now?
Yeah, I like that too. I like it.
Like, let's say our dream next villain for Fast and Furious, you personally said
Andy Serkis, possibly. I could see him as more like as maybe a James Bond villain, but I think Serkis could be a good villain.
I want Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman. Wolverine, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I could see him as a villain too.
Because I could see
I think he really needs something else to sort of move on from after his departure from Logan.
Yeah. So obviously when you think about like all the movie trailers were just there weren't that many.
Not many. There was like one for Twilight Zone, but that one was actually kind of interesting.
We'll talk about that in the horror meltdown.
Yeah.
Yay. So for me, like, are you interested? Are you gonna go see Lego Movie 2 this weekend or no?
Maybe not this weekend, but the following weekend, yes. I am definitely watching it.
I thought Karen and like us were going to see like the Happy Death Day.
You can't say that word. Yes, happy to you.
Happy to you. No, it's fine.
Okay. The sequel to that movie. Basically, I'm just gonna call it Groundhog's Day because that's typically what it is. I mean, is that coming out this weekend?
It's coming out next weekend.
Oh, next weekend. Yes, Valentine's Day, of course.
I was talking to Nicole about that.
That's great. I mean, a lot. I'm sure people like Nicole would want to see a movie like that. I mean, it's like a good modern comedic horror movie, you know.
More like the 90s.
Yes, like a modern comedic. I like to add a little bit of comedy. I thought there was some pretty funny moments.
So
in the first one, of course.
Yeah, in the first one, not the second one.
I've yet to have seen the second one.
I've yet to see the second one. Yet to see it.
And it hasn't. And the first one hasn't even come out all that long ago. Anyway,
it hasn't, which is crazy.
Kind of surprising.
That's crazy as well.
Yeah, it feels like it was yesterday.
So,
wow.
Obviously, the next topic is something that's really interesting. So, like, obviously, when we talk about horror, we talk about older horror, we talk about newer horror.
Mm-hmm.
But what about current horror? What about current? You said this to me. You said this would be a really interesting topic. Is 21st century horror movies really scary, or are they not?
Yeah, that is always a good question. Are they really scary nowadays? Like when you look at the movie It Chapter 1 in the theaters, were people more laughing than they were having some gasp? Because when I saw it,
I was watching it in like afternoon in the middle of the day.
I mean, it doesn't matter. Like I heard more. I saw it 2 times actually. 2 times.
Yeah.
One time, it was literally here in this, it was actually in Garden State Plaza.
Yeah.
AMC Theater. There were more people laughing, in my opinion. And then a second time I saw it was in this school, actually, Montclair State. where they were having a film in of it Chapter 1, and there were more people laughing than they were being frightened. I mean, the only thing they were frightened were like the first 5 minutes of it, and we all know what happened there.
Yeah, we all know what happens there. But like for me, like you said, like I haven't watched Hereditary yet.
Yes, Hereditary was like, I don't know, like Hereditary.
Was it more of like a family drama movie?
It was more of a family drama movie, but the thing is, they kind of like sort of just steered away of what the situation was about. You know, like when it started.
Oi.
Like it was strange.
Yeah. Keep talking.
Like, it was strange, you know, like, they had some good jump scares, but they didn't really keep at it, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
but
like,
they did have some good jump scares, though. I have to admit, I don't really think it's, like, the best horror movie of 2018, but, you know, I mean, I can't say too much about it, just because I don't know if I personally liked it, that's the thing. I mean...
Yeah.
That's just me though, and I'm like kind of surprised how many people saw it. You know, I thought I was like the minority.
Like for me, like when I haven't watched it yet, so for me, I saw a few scenes from it, and it was really freaky, which I liked.
Yes,
like,
they did have some uncomfortable scenes.
I love the freaky scenes.
Yes,
but for me, like I like the idea of a family drama horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like it kind of reminds me of Rosemary's Baby.
Yes, I would agree, but this one's like not as good as Rosemary's Baby in my opinion.
Like, you know, like for me, like probably I'm more interested in like Get Out. That was a pretty good horror.
Yes, Get Out was a phenomenal dark horror movie.
Yeah.
And I thought it was great. You know, it's not at the same level as like A Quiet Place. A Quiet Place was a really good modern horror movie.
Like for me, like modern horror needs to be built on the idea of suspense.
Yes,
like,
I would say so.
Like this is what I think.
Suspense, but also keep like the storyline kind of intact in a way.
Like this is what I love about The Quiet Place. Since we're both filmmakers, we can explain.
Yes.
Why. So for me, when I first saw The Quiet Place, it was like an old Alfred Hitchcock movie.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a really like, the pacing was almost like really like intense. Like everything was like on purpose.
Yes.
Slow.
Absolutely.
But also well built.
Absolutely.
And for me, like when I watched like the new Halloween movie, it wasn't as like suspenseful as I wanted it to be.
No, but like I thought it was good. Just like there were just like very predictable jump scares that I don't know. Like I couldn't really jump out of my seat for them.
Yeah.
When I'm watching it in theaters. Like I don't know. I feel it's hard to scare people nowadays.
It is kind of hard to scare people nowadays. It's like that, you know how like in Monsters Inc. they say like it's hard to scare kids nowadays?
Yeah, and it's even harder to scare like adults too.
Yeah, it's even hard to scare adults.
Like if you've ever seen Monsters University. I know we don't talk about it, but I just had to mention it.
But like using that example of like how like it's like, I think scares need to be built upon the idea of like creating a false sense of security.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I finally figured out what my haunted house would be like if I ever made a haunted house. It'd be like, it'd have the first 10 minutes of the first half hour would be no scares whatsoever. It's just all atmosphere.
A lot of quietness, I suppose.
A lot of quietness and a lot about like...
A lot of silence, yeah. Sometimes silence can help with that.
Like you know how in A Quiet Place?
Silence. I know.
Nothing.
No, they didn't really have any like soundtracks or anything
like
that. None that I personally recall.
No, it was.
There probably were here and there, but I doubt they were like using it for like the big moments.
But for me, like when I'm like thinking about a haunted house, and then like the last 10 minutes of the haunted house would be like absolute scares from start to finish.
Like kind of like turning the volume down, and then suddenly when you put on your headphones, you realize that the volume is all the way up, and then you freak out that that the volume is like, it's just jacking up.
Like that would get people, right?
Yes, it would. Kind of like that's typically what A Quiet Place did in a way. Like you hear silence and then you hear this roar.
Yeah.
And then
it's like
it's supposed to be scary.
For me, like that's why when we talk about houses later in the year, we kind of like the idea of like we don't like the idea of we like the idea of more quiet things and building and building and building,
Mm-hmm.
and then just having that tension. For me, like when I think about haunted houses, like I love talking about Halloween all year round because Halloween is fun all year round.
It is, not minus the candies.
Minus the candies. But when you talk about more like
you
stuff,
don't even need to go trick or treating to get candies.
when you talk about haunted
events,
when you talk about haunted houses, when you talk about horror movies, we love talking about like what makes horror movies work and what makes. For me, like the 21st century horror movies, some of them are good.
Mm-hmm.
They just need to understand what makes the good movies good.
They kind of need to keep at it in a way.
Yeah.
Like, just because you make one horror movie doesn't mean you're done there.
Doesn't mean you're done.
Make another. You know, like, look at Jordan Peele. He's making another after Get Out. He's making Us.
He's making Us, which...
And he made, Black Klansman, but I've never seen it, so I don't know. But I heard it was amazing.
But for me, like, when we... I just love the idea that we could be getting more horror movies that are more like the old 70s horror movies and more, like, built upon the idea that you need to build suspense first.
I do like that idea as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For me, like, it's just the idea that we can have more suspenseful movies is just exciting.
I agree. Yes. I would like to see more movies like that. I mean, so far, like Happy Death Day, that's gonna be like
fun.
A pretty fun horror movie. I mean, I'm willing to bet it's more comedic than anything, but you know, I mean, what are you gonna do? I think it'll be fine.
Yeah, I think it will be fine.
It'll work well in its element.
It's like a 90s slasher throwback movie.
Yes.
It's like those like 90s like Scream.
Kind of like Scream, yeah.
And I Know What You Did Last Summer.
And I definitely, yes, I remember that movie. And also but like Scream 1, I don't know, they had like really good suspense in my opinion.
Yeah, they
like,
did have really good suspense.
The first one, yes.
The first one had really good suspense.
Yeah, the other two, minus the last one, which I enjoyed. I don't know why, but the Scream 4, I enjoyed it.
Because Scream 4 was like their answer to reboots.
Yes. And like never mess around with the original.
No, never mess around with the original. And like I think that's a good thing to ease into the next topic, which is the horror meltdown. This week, horror news has been a bit slow this week, but there's also been a bunch of interesting stuff going on.
Yes.
And it's not the fact that it's slow sometimes, it's the fact that there's not much going on.
Yeah.
That's interesting, or there's...
At this moment, not much. Not enough.
But...
Like, would you say that the new Twilight Zone,
yeah, we'll get... Yeah.
Is that considered horror, though?
Yeah.
Then yes.
That's something. Obviously, for those who did not hear this, The Room director, Tommy Wiseau, is coming back to direct a movie called Big Shark. A shark attack movie.
Another shark attack movie. Wow.
By the guy who did The Room.
Yes.
Just let that sink in for everybody.
If
you're listening and you know the movie The Room, just think that thought of like Tommy Wiseau directing a shark movie.
Don't worry, we'll give you a minute.
We'll give you a minute, and the minute's over.
Yes.
Isn't it the weirdest thing ever?
It's very weird.
It's so weird.
Tommy Wiseau, I don't personally like him as a director.
I have to stop you for a second.
Yes, you do.
We're here, it's now 3 o'clock, up here at WMSC, Upper Montclair. Back to your talking.
Okay. Now, I don't know if I personally like him as a director, but The Room is just funny to watch nowadays.
Oh my gosh.
In my opinion.
It's so funny. It's so funny.
Yes, and I'm like, him making another movie called Shark Attack, what's it called again? Another Shark Attack movie?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's just, I don't know, how many Shark Attacks movies have we gotten nowadays? Like, haven't we gotten a most recent one called The Meg?
Yeah, we just got a movie called The Meg.
Yeah, and that's, guess what? A Shark Attack movie.
It is a Shark Attack movie.
Yeah. And, it's crazy.
It is crazy. Because for me, it's just like, all these Shark Attack movies are just like, they're not interesting enough.
Yes, I mean, I don't think they are all that interesting. I mean, like, I don't know. I just seeing so many shark attacks movies. I'm like, I would much rather see a crocodile attack movie.
So we're gonna take a quick break for a second.
Yes.
And we are back here at Geekly. Welcome back.
Hello.
It's just a quick break.
Yes, hello. Alex Centeno here. And, the current topic right now is horror, am I correct?
Like the horror meltdown.
The horror meltdown.
Which is the news of the week.
News of the week, okay.
So the next piece of news is the more details about Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark have been announced. And so I'm going to read the plot.
Yes, read the plot.
It's kind of weird. All Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, the monsters we've seen so far. And this is the actual plot. In 1968 in America, change is blowing in the wind, but seemingly far removed from the unrest of the city is a small town of Mill Valley where generations, the shadows of the Bellows family, loomed large over them in its mansion on the edge of town. Sarah, a young girl with horrible secrets, turned to tortured life of a series of scary stories written in a book that has transcended time and have all become too real for a group of teenagers who discovers Sarah's terrifying tome.
Now, that sounds pretty fun. I mean, it seems like more of a reality shifting scenario here, like where everything in your worst nightmares is coming true.
Which I kind of like the idea because we can get a lot more.
Yeah, it's like a sort of like supernatural Freddy Krueger type of horror.
Yeah, which I find more interesting.
Yes, I agree. I mean, I think this movie has potential.
It does have potential, which is not. It's like really good to hear, because for me, I'd rather a movie have potential than not have potential.
Exactly. I mean, no potential is better. No potential is not good. All right. Yeah. I feel every movie needs to have that kind of potential.
It kind of does. It kind of does need to have that potential. And going into the next piece of news, which is actually very interesting, which is the you know how like the Edgar Wright movie wasn't titled yet?
Yes.
We got the title.
What's the title?
It is called The Last Night in Soho.
What's the genre?
It is horror.
Okay. Now The Last Night in Soho. That, I mean, I don't really know anything about it, but I think, I mean, Edgar Wright is a fantastic director. I mean, like, I think he could pull this off in regards to horror.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think?
I think it could be very interesting because I think Edgar Wright respects horror a lot, which I love.
And it's called Last Night in Soho. Mm-hmm. That's the name of a music even. Made in 1999. Huh. I mean, I'm looking this up. It's supposed to come out in 2020. And I'm willing to wait that long. And so far, we have like a top billed actress named Anya Taylor-Joy. Anya Taylor-Joy. And I'm like, I hope this turns out to be good. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, Edgar Wright has a really good reputation.
He does have a really good reputation, which I love.
Mm-hmm.
I love the fact that he has a good reputation. And for me, like, I just love the fact that we're getting another Edgar Wright movie.
Yeah, I agree.
Because Edgar Wright, I feel like no matter what he does is somehow very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Like.
Yeah, I mean, I feel what he does is some good quality piece of work.
Yeah.
And I think Edgar. I mean, I think he has a lot of potential to do a lot of movies, but this is going to be his first horror movie. Am I correct?
Yeah.
then I mean, it's like interesting to see how he does in his first horror movie. You know, I mean, that just goes to show, you know, sometimes directors can, like, you know, try new things.
It is very interesting.
Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sorry. For me, like, when I think about it, it's just going to be very interesting. So, obviously, the next piece of news, Universal bumps Ambulance. Spielberg produced Haunted Mansion movie called The Turning, which was originally set to 2020, originally set for release earlier this year. Amblin, DreamWorks, and Vertigo's Steven Spielberg's produced The Turning, an adaptation of The Turn of the Screw, being bumped to 2020. We've learned today that Universal will now release the movie, the horror film, on January 24th, 2020.
Okay.
So,
I mean, yeah, I would hope that they do a good job on this. I mean, they're taking the time to make this movie.
I think for me, like, Spielberg produced horror movies are very interesting.
Yes.
Like you know how he produced like the original Poltergeist?
Uh-huh.
I think this could be like
another good one.
Another good one.
Yes.
Because I think the same thing with Edgar Wright. Like, Steven Spielberg loves horror movies.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't say how much he loves it. He just loves it.
Yeah, he just does it, you know? Like he's not going to express how much, you know, how much he loves the genre. He's just going to show how much he loves it.
So, in the next piece, in the next thing is the trailers. The trailers. We had a bunch of trailers drop this week and last week. So we're gonna get into my favorite one, which is What We Do in the Shadows trailer.
Yes.
Did you see that trailer?
Yes, I did. The new season 1, yes.
The new season 1. It looks really funny.
Oh yes, I'm excited.
It doesn't look like, for those who don't know, What We Do in the Shadows.
It's like a monument. It's a mockumentary. Well,
it's a mockumentary about 4 vampires who live together in a flat, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so funny.
In Europe, yes.
In Europe. No, in New Zealand.
Really? Huh.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Okay. Yes, in New Zealand. I could have sworn it was Europe.
Yeah.
In New Zealand, and like now. And now, like, you know, we basically just see the typical life of a vampire. You know? It's really fun and enjoyable.
Yeah.
Like, even watching the movie, it was just crazy.
So, we're going to take a quick break.
Yes.
And we'll get into more of what we think of break. And we'll go into a break and a song. The brand new KG Elephant song, which I love.
I'm ready to let go.
And we're back here at Geekly. Welcome back. And
Hello.
That was a brand new Cage the Elephant song.
Yeah, that was fun.
That was fun.
Uh-huh.
So, obviously, getting back into horror news, we have the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark TV spots. What'd you think of them? Like, what'd you think of them?
I mean, they seem pretty, like, like, let me get into, like, the camera shots, really. Like, I feel they really put more effort into, like, the camera shots into, in anything in regards to those, to anything else. Like, you start off with, like, the traditional wide angle to like a medium shot, I believe, and then a close up. And you know, they did it all kind of quickly, and I believe that kind of helped with like the whole suspense of horror. You know,
I think this movie's gonna be very 80s like.
Oh, I hope so.
I like, you know how like the I kind of feel like in my head it's gonna be like the original Poltergeist.
Uh-huh.
Like, you know how the original Poltergeist was just not scary parts. It's like it was just so intense.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope that this movie does the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, something similar, not to the original Poltergeist, not the remake. But like, I mean, you know, Scary Stories to Tell. I hope it does good. I mean, there's also other horror movies like Pet Sematary. I mean, I hope that does good too. You know.
Yeah. So obviously during the Super Bowl, we got another sneak peek, which I really liked, which was the Twilight Zone.
Yes, the Twilight Zone, finally.
I knew about this.
I wasn't sure about it, but it looks really unsettling watching that Twilight Zone teaser.
I don't want to play it right now, but it's so good. It is so good.
It felt very unsettling.
It felt very much like Like, this is what I want a Twilight Zone to feel like. Very unsettling, but at the same time, very warm.
Oh, yeah.
Very warm. Like my problem with Black Mirror is just too cold.
Yes,
like
Black Mirror.
It's too cold, and it's not as inviting.
Mm-hmm. Especially episode 1.
But
like the Twilight Zone, I don't know, it's just like a fun little roller coaster.
It's like a fun, like, warm little roller coaster that's just so unique.
Uh-huh.
And I don't think anything is like it.
I agree.
Even though the Black Mirror tries to be like it, I don't think there's anything like Twilight Zone.
I mean, I have to admit, Black Mirror does it more modernly. Twilight Zone kind of sticks to, like, the 60s standards.
I kind of like that idea. I kind of like the fact that it sticks to the 60s.
Yeah, I know, but but Black Mirror is doing it in like a modern standpoint, you know?
No, it's not that. It's just like it's the fact that it's too cold.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know how like Black Mirror is just too like
very uncomfortable.
Very uncomfortable. Like, at least with Twilight Zone and this new one seems like it's going to be very unsettling.
Yeah.
But it's going to be very warm at the same time.
Yeah, I definitely. And it's directed by Jordan Peele as well. Am I correct? It's showrun. My bad. Yes, showrun by Jordan Peele as well.
And his production company, I think.
Oh man, that's quite something. Jordan Peele is like stepping pretty high into that food chain right now.
Yeah, obviously.
He's hot topic right now.
He is very hot topic, and I like that about him.
Yes, he is like becoming a phenomenal director so far.
He is a very phenomenal director, and I love that. And for me, like there weren't that many horror trailers, which was sad.
That's unfortunate, but it's the truth.
Those were the only 2 ones that were
in the Super Bowl, correct?
In the Super Bowl,
yes.
But this Friday we have our first full trailer for Child's Play.
That's coming this Friday?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's something. I mean, I'm not even really all that excited for it, to be honest.
I don't think anybody's really excited for it.
Like, I'm like, you know, I remember Ian said last week that they're making a movie of it and they're still making a TV show for it. Like, I don't know what they're doing, to be honest. I'm super confused.
Yeah, it's super confusing. But it's just the fact that it's not the fact that we don't like Child's Play. It's the fact that we just don't find it interesting.
Yeah, I just don't really. Oh, sorry about that. I don't really like. I mean, I don't know. I feel that's like a type of movie that should have stayed just as a one movie thing, not really an entire series. You know?
Yeah,
I think it should have just stayed in one movie.
That's true.
Expanding it and everything just makes it I don't know, it takes the fun away and it makes it more complicated.
It does take a lot of the fun away, which is not to say that it's a bad thing.
Yeah, I know. It's just so, I don't know. It's just not my taste. That's all. Like, in making a TV series out of it, I don't even know if that's gonna work. You know? Like, it's just too much for, like, they're putting a little too much on this little thing right there.
Yeah. So, obviously, going into the next topic, which is Fast and Furious.
Yes, the Hobbs and Shaw movie.
No, like, the Fast and Furious overview.
The overview, you mean the series in general?
Yeah.
I think.
So, I'm gonna play a quick little clip.
Goodbye, Paul Walker.
10-second car.
Without you, my friend, and I'll tell you, broken the love will never.
I don't know. It's just like, do you like, I know you like Fast and Furious.
Yes, I do.
And what made you like it? Like, when you first heard about it or something like that, what made you like it?
What made me like it was like, first of all, I'm like I got like a huge overview of the cast, and I'm like, wow, these are like crazy. This is like a crazy combination of casting.
I know.
Like, when I just say that, I really just mean Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Vin Diesel. But like, that was around the time when the fifth one was coming out, and then I quickly saw the first 2 movies. Mm-hmm. And then I saw the fourth one, the fourth one. And then I saw the fifth one in theaters, and I had to admit it was crazy. And ironically speaking, I saw Tokyo Drift, the second one, like a while later. But I feel I did the right thing doing that for some reason.
So, can you break down each thought on each movie? Like,
right.
I'll go
Each
into
thought
my
of each movie.
I'll go into my thoughts.
Okay.
I'll let you do yours first.
Okay, I got it. Now, I got this, yes. The first one was more, I feel the first one was more of just like a thriller movie, just heist in a way, like trying to avoid detection from the police.
Yeah, that's very true.
And it was also more about like getting this relationship between the protagonist and the antagonist.
Yeah.
You know, they really developed that relationship pretty well.
Yeah.
And, between like, which was, I would say, between the rivals of Vin Diesel and Paul Walker. You know, those two were rivals, but they developed this unusual respect towards one another. And I think that's something the first movie did pretty good at. And then with the second one, Too Fast, Too Furious. This one was just more about this one was more of a spin-off series, which I thought was fine, you know.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty fun to watch. Paul Walker and his friend, I forgot his name. His best friend.
I forget his name too.
And I just kind of enjoyed seeing what was the outcome of his of what happened to him. But I thought it was just okay. Maybe. The third one, Tokyo Drift. I don't know. That was kind of fun. I mean, I can tell that this was supposed to be like an anthology series, really. Like once you get up to Tokyo Drift, like I feel this was supposed to be like an anthology series, like just focusing on specific characters and all those things.
Yeah. Like my favorite is the soundtrack to that movie is so good.
Yes.
To Tokyo Drift.
Yeah.
Like 6 Days. Have you heard that song?
Yes, it was actually pretty good. I mean, I thought it was like, that movie was semi-okay. I mean, I was just always wondering what happened to the original characters, all those things. And then we saw Vin Diesel in the end, which was fun. And then the fourth one, it went straight back to what the first Fast and Furious movie originally was.
Yeah.
I think that was like the turning point where they just wanted to go back to what they were.
Yeah, which were the original characters.
Yes, exactly.
And so,
And the fifth one reiterated what I said about the first one.
Yeah.
The relationship between your enemy and your hero.
Yeah.
Which was Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Vin Diesel. And I thought that was just, I don't know, I love the fifth one so much.
It has one of the best moments, one of the best PG-13 moments ever.
Yes.
Which we can't say on air, but
I will not say it.
But it's just one of those moments where you're just like, yeah, that's a good moment. That's an awesome moment.
I like it. I mean, it made the movie, and I just thought it was like just fun. Sixth one was a close second. I thought it was a really good movie.
Oh my gosh, 6 is
a pretty close second. Seventh one was good, emotional, but I thought it was like
a very good send off.
A send off for like particular characters. It's kind of weird at times, but yeah, it was all right. The eighth one was, I suppose, good. Just, it was like, it got to that point where I'm like wondering, have they made a little too much? I don't know,
So for me, like, when I think the Fast and Furious 1 is fun, it's a fun thriller for me.
Yes.
It's like really fun. The second one is like fun as well, but I don't like it at certain points.
Yeah.
Like the pacing is a little bit off for me.
Yeah.
The third one, Tokyo Drift, is just insane.
Yes.
It's just insane.
Makes you learn how to drift.
And plus, it has one of my favorite songs, which is 6 Days by DJ Shadow.
Yes.
Like that to me is like really awesome.
And what's your take on the fourth one?
The fourth one is okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not as great.
Yeah.
But it's still like, it still has like those quintessential moments of like, this is fun.
I agree.
Like, and then the Fast and Furious 5 is just amazing. It's like it's
fun.
It's just symphony. It's just like so much
action.
It was
like that's what I should have said. It had like the most action.
It had the most action
like most
in all
movies.
In the whole series. It had the most action.
Yes.
And then the Fast and Furious 6 was like vehicular warfare, and I loved it every second of the vehicular warfare.
And the villain was
and the villain was complex,
was
which I
very
loved,
complex,
which I loved a lot, and that was just so great.
Oh yes.
And then Fast and Furious 7 was like the perfect like to me it was like really sweet and really like put a lot of effort into it. And James Wan directed it so well.
Mhm.
Like he directed it so well, and
I could agree.
He did things that I'm just like I personally liked a lot.
Mhm. And what's your take on the 8th one?
The 8th one we saw in theaters.
Yes.
I thought it was okay. Like it was like a 7 out of 10 for me. Like the pacing was okay.
Yes.
But for me, the thing that felt empty,
it kind of ruins that little send off they had before.
It does ruin the send off for me.
I don't like when movies do that.
But we have to take a quick break.
Yes.
And we'll be back. And we are back here at Geekly and with Alex
Centeno.
Yeah.
Say my name right.
Yeah. So we're talking more about the Fast and Furious things. So, like, when you saw the Hobbs and Shaw trailer, did you think it was it's going into the territory of
it's going more into the territory of like spies and things like that, maybe. I mean stealth. I want to say stealth.
Yeah.
Brute strength versus stealth, which is typically what it is.
Yeah.
And yeah, I like that relationship between The Rock and Jason Statham.
It is a very interesting relationship, and for those who haven't seen the trailer or don't know what it is exactly, how to best explain it, like, it's kind of like a guy who's basically, like, Hobbs' character is very much like.
I'm like trying to see this as like a Lethal Weapon scenario.
Like
but
it's like a Lethal Weapon movie. It seems like it's gonna be a Lethal Weapon.
Yeah, except the characters really don't like each other.
Yeah, they really don't like each other.
Yeah, and I could have sworn that they might have gotten along in the 8th movie, but I'm not sure.
They kind of didn't.
Yeah, I know. But it was so funny, those two in the 8th movie. I don't know why.
Yeah, for me, like, when I see stuff that personally, like, for me, I'm excited to see what Hobbs and Shaw is going to be like in August.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's going to be very fun to watch, and it's going to be very interesting to watch.
Exactly. It's going to be like another spin-off movie, kind of like what it's like doing what they originally intended, you know?
Yeah.
Like with the Paul Walker spin-off they did there. One movie spin-off, and what's the character's name again in the 3rd movie?
I forget. I don't know.
Okay.
But basically his character, but.
Yeah, and now they're doing it with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's character, which I like.
Yeah, which I like, and it's directed by the guy who directed Deadpool 2.
Okay. Yeah, I do love Deadpool 2. I love it.
So obviously, what do you think are the series' flaws? Like, what do you think what do you think are their flaws? Like,
you know, I have like a bad skeptical. I'm feeling like semi-skeptical about the villain Idris Elba's character.
No, yeah, I'm a bit skeptical
about it. I don't know why. I'm just like I don't have a really good feeling about his character at the moment.
Neither do I.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We have to see. I mean, I want to see Idris Elba as a villain, but I'm like a little worried what they're gonna do with it.
So obviously the next topic is like, what is your guilty pleasure franchise?
My guilty pleasure franchise. Can you give me yours first?
It's Fast and Furious.
That is your guilty pleasure?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
okay.
Like, you can kind of understand it. But...
Guilty pleasure. I have to feel guilt about it. Okay.
Like, for me, like, I think a guilty pleasure series is like more like. Oh my gosh, I have too many.
Mm-hmm. Give us another.
Probably technically like the Halloween franchise a little bit.
Okay.
Like certain
that is quite guilty. You're right.
Yeah. I kind of do like how cheesy and how progressively
dumb it could be.
They get, and how progressively the plot just gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse.
Oh yeah.
Worse. And it's just like it's just like so funny to watch, and you can just riff over it.
Oh yeah, very true. But, okay, so I guess a guilty pleasure movie series I currently have maybe is, like, the Star Wars series. Like, that semi-includes the prequel series, in a way.
Yeah.
Like, just because I enjoyed the politics behind the prequel series.
Oh, yeah, the politics.
The politics is pretty good. There's no denying that.
No, there's no denying it. It's like the Trade Federation and all that stuff, and I'm like...
So I suppose my guilty pleasure might be the prequel series of Star Wars. I mean, maybe. Just because I thought the politics behind it is just really good. Pretty accurate. Mm-hmm. Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense.
So what makes a guilty pleasure movie?
It's like a movie that, you know, that's kind of infamous in a way. Like, it's like, it doesn't have a good reputation, but there's something about it that you personally like about. Alright?
Yeah.
That you personally like from it. Alright?
Like,
it's kind of like saying the Jurassic Park films, but I don't have
I think the one that's very, like, I kind of like the Transformers.
Oh, yes, that's a lot of people's guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I told you the story about photography, right?
No, I think you did. Is it?
My professor asked everyone what's their favorite movie, and one of them told them that his favorite movie is the Transformers series with Michael Bay.
And
he's like, gotta give this guy an honest-to-God grade. Yeah, basically.
I think the other one is the Spider-Man series.
Yeah, like the Amazing Spider-Man series or things like that.
I think that would be like one of our other friends' guilty pleasure.
Just quick lesson. Never tell the person that's putting your grade that your favorite movie is the Transformers series. He's not gonna forget.
Yep, he's not.
Okay, but yeah, the Spider-Man series, I could understand the Tobey Maguire
and some
series.
James Bond movies.
Some James Bond movies, or the Godzilla movies, or the King Kong movies.
Oh yeah, like for me, like that's what's so interesting. Like there's so many different like.
But like when I think of a series, like another guilty pleasure, maybe the Frankenstein trilogy, maybe.
Yeah.
Because like I like the first two, the last one just doesn't work well in tandem in compared to the other two.
So I know we're gonna have to talk about this eventually. RoboCop.
What happened in RoboCop?
No, we have different thoughts on RoboCop.
Oh yes,
we'll save that for
RoboCop.
We'll save that for another time because that's like we can go into like a whole.
It's
hour.
A bit of a long one, yes.
Yeah, and we can usually start yelling. Yeah, but that's beside the point. But like for you, like overall, like when you sit down to watch like a guilty pleasure movie, do you riff over it?
A little bit, yeah.
Like
one example might be maybe the Terminator movies, sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah, like 2 of them, 3 of them actually
are I think 4 of them now.
Maybe 4. I mean, the second one is still fun to watch, but the first one is still working.
Like you know how like the first one is just the knock in the park, and the second
I like this.
And the second one's just like it's good.
A little too long.
A little too long.
Very long, actually. Isn't it like 3 hours long?
Like I can like
yeah like
let's look up the run.
Like the runtime, I don't know how long it is, but it was pretty long.
Like it was pretty long.
Yeah. Terminator Judgment Day. Terminator Judgment Day. Why is that not the first thing coming up in Google? Okay, I'm wrong. It's 2 hours and 36 minutes. But
yeah, that's long.
But yeah, you know, it's close enough. And
speaking of like the Terminator series, the Salvation one. Can we just talk about Salvation?
Salvation was.
Can we just talk about that interesting?
Talking of long, didn't they have a 4-minute trailer?
Yeah, they did.
That's ridiculous.
They did have a 4-minute long trailer, and didn't they show it during the Super Bowl as well?
I think so, but I wasn't like. It's not like I actually watched it though.
No, like I remember. Did you watch it in theaters?
No, I saw it in DVD.
I watched it in theaters.
I didn't watch it in theaters. I just waited until the DVD came out.
I'm so ashamed of myself.
I have the DVD, unfortunately.
For those who don't know, Terminator Salvation was a movie that was directed by a music video director.
Was it? Who was the director? I kept thinking it was James Cameron, but maybe not.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. He wouldn't direct something that bad.
No, he wouldn't. He wouldn't. He's still doing that unneeded Avatar sequel.
Oh my gosh,
that
Avatar
really is not needed.
Avatar, we're gonna say something that's very
MCG. Okay, you're right.
Like can we just talk about Avatar?
Yes, why not?
Because
that's a good topic.
I don't think people understand. This movie
is a ripoff
of Pocahontas, Dancing with Wolves, and it's basically people say to me, "Oh, Trevor, you must not like Avatar." We watched it recently, and we did not like the fact that it was just so boring and so uninteresting and so uneventful.
once you stop watching it in like a big theater, well, look at it. It's like absolutely nothing. The story is not the best.
The story is so cliched that you can look through other movies and find better examples of it.
Yeah, Pocahontas is slightly better. Something like Avatar, it's just sort of like, do we even need a sequel for it? No, we
do not. And people will say, I've always wanted to see a sequel. I'm like,
there's a reason why it took 10 years. It's because they didn't want one.
They didn't want one.
Or, maybe it just wasn't sure if it was a good idea.
You want to know something? People are still going to watch it because it's going to be so...
I'm probably going to watch it too, not going to lie.
Okay, are you going to watch it for...
Not in IMAX.
Not in IMAX.
Not in IMAX.
Not in IMAX.
I did that. Not the first time, but I did it. It was so. I was invited. It was like. I have to admit, I enjoyed it watching it in IMAX. But then when I got the DVD, I'm so disappointed now.
Isn't it so disappointing?
Yeah, when I actually bought the DVD in my hands.
I think I saw the movie twice in theaters.
So did I.
So did I.
It was. I have to say.
Very, very disappointed. When I saw it on DVD.
When I saw it on DVD, I was like, "Oh man,
this movie is so boring."
When I watched it in theaters, it looked so good, but when I'm watching it in this small TV,
I think we need a definition of movies
I hate to say it, but it's just
we
not
need
right.
a definition of movies like that.
Underwhelming.
Underwhelming is the best description of Avatar. You watch it in this huge theater. It's awesome.
It looks great.
It looks great. The story is complex, and you're just like, you watch it on DVD,
not all that
and it's just like,
really.
It's not all that complex. What is going on with this movie? I do not understand that fact that it's not complex. And then you watch it, and you're just like, so that's the story?
Yeah, basically.
So obviously, the next topic is something that you suggested as well.
Mm-hmm.
What makes a comedy movie good or bad?
A comedy movie good or bad? Okay. Give me an example of a comedy movie.
Like Ace Ventura.
Ace Ventura, yes. That is a fun movie.
For those who don't know, Ace Ventura is this movie from the 1980s, which is hilarious.
Yes.
Is about a pet detective who hunts the Miami Dolphin while this noir storyline of Finkel and Ihorn, which is one of the funniest moments on TV, which is one of my favorite moments. I can't say the whole scene because the whole scene is not appropriate at all.
No, it's not. Ace Ventura was pretty fun, you know.
It was like more of a noir movie. It was like a parody of noir movies.
What do you need with a comedy movie nowadays is that you need really good characters.
Yeah.
Not just idiotic characters or anything like that. You could have that, but come on, make it work.
I feel like for me, I don't think a good comedy movie, what I think is a good comedy movie.
Like Dumb and Dumber.
Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah. Now that I actually think is an example of a good comedy movie. Not gonna lie.
I like it, but it's not as funny as Dodgeball.
You got me there.
Dodgeball is
Ben Stiller and Vince Vaughn.
I'm just already thinking about all the jokes in that movie. Tools.
Ooh.
And it's just there are so many good jokes.
The Pirate.
We should watch it again.
That movie was fun.
I think I do have it on DVD.
I think I might have it on DVD as well. But yeah, no, that movie was definitely fun.
For me, what makes that movie so good is the sense of characters in the sense that they're all well written and they're all like
They have like their own purpose, I suppose.
They have their own purpose, like Pirate Steve.
Like Pirate Steve, figuring out that he's not a pirate.
Figuring out that he's not a pirate.
And the big guy with the glasses, figuring out that he needs to be brave.
Figuring out that he needs to be brave, and
it's like watching One Piece.
It's like
I've seen One Piece. I know their structure. Another one is basically just a guy finding love, and that's what it is.
It's really interesting for me because I never thought that it would be like that. Like very, like for me, like movies like that are just really fun to watch.
Yeah, it was definitely fun. I enjoyed it. You know. I mean, like, you know, movies like Dumb and Dumber is just fun because it's like an adventure movie, and I enjoy those, you know, in a comedic in a comedic standpoint.
So we're gonna take a quick break, and we'll be talking more about comedy movies.
Yes, sir.
And how fun they are. And we are back here on Geekly. That was Daydreaming by Paramore.
Hello.
Hello, we're back, and we're talking about the comedy movies. What makes a good comedy movie?
Why, gee, I mean, I would say that a good comedy movie is what makes you laugh, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay, and how about like likable characters, maybe? You know, what I like to say is that, you know, it's like what a sitcom would sometimes do. Try to get two people that are a night and day, you know? They're like opposites, complete opposites. That's what makes it hilarious.
You always want to get that.
You know, and I think that always works.
Yeah, it always does.
You know, like
it always does.
Exactly.
But what makes a bad
comedy?
Like a bad
repeating the same jokes. You know, like relying on just one joke, kind of like that Liam Neeson movie with the creator of Family Guy in it.
A Million Ways to Die in the West?
Yes, that's the one. That was a bad comedy movie because there was no comedy. You see, here, let me tell you what the problem was. They were trying to get to the punchline, but they kept talking too much before they could get to the punchline. And I'm like, I don't even care what the joke is anymore. They just didn't get to it fast enough.
Even my problem with Ted and Ted 2. It's just like there's too much talking and
just too much talking,
and not enough to the joke.
Just get straight to the joke already.
Like the only thing that I think he learned from those movies is like how to write actual comedy when he does the Orville.
Yeah.
Did you watch the Orville?
Mm-hmm.
What'd you think of it?
It was actually pretty fun. I mean, I kind of enjoyed it.
It's like classic. It's like a parody of Star Trek.
Yeah, just more funny.
It's like kind of like Red Shirts.
Just a lot more funny though. But
like remember how I told you about Red Shirts?
Yeah, but this one's like 10 times funnier though.
Yeah, this one's 10 times funnier.
But like, I mean, like Star Trek is being taken very literal.
But also, what are some examples? You give some people some examples of bad comedy movies.
All right, bad comedy movies. Maybe Avengers: Age of Ultron. That's probably one of them. That was just comedy that wasn't even needed.
For those who don't know, like Avengers: Age of Ultron was interesting to say the least in its comedy realm. It did not hit.
I'm sorry, it was a miss.
It was a miss.
Like with Thor Ragnarok, it was a hit, but with Avengers Age of Ultron, it was a miss because they just threw it all over the place, all willy nilly, and it was like, and like trying to make the villain a complete clown. I'm like, oh come on, really?
That was silly.
You need to do that, seriously.
It was very silly to do that. It was very like, oh, James Spader. I'm like, yeah, you have James Spader.
Come on, he's like, he would have been so intimidating, but now I don't find him intimidating at all as Ultron because
I told my brother who's recently watching the MCU. Hi, Mitchell, if you're listening to this. Basically, like, I told him, skip over Age of Ultron because it's not, like, you can find a video explaining what's going on.
Not much really happened, just Vision's creation and that's it. But
just Vision's creation, which you can just watch on YouTube.
Yeah, Hulk going into space. I mean,
that's it.
Not much happens.
You can just watch. I can just tell him like.
But yeah, now that I think about it, not much really did happen.
There's only two scenes that actually were interesting, and that's it: the Vision creation and
Frankenstein.
And then like the obviously the scene where Hulk goes to space.
Yeah.
But a bad comedy movie in my sense is like movies like The Year like the movies after Christmas Vacation,
Mhm.
National Lampoons.
Yeah, I mean,
Like European Vacation, Vegas Vacation. Like unnecessary sequels.
Yeah, you really don't need sequels. Like the Hangover movies, you don't need sequels to those.
I don't think it needed a part 2.
No, probably not. It just repeated the same exact thing part 1 did.
Like, and part 1 was just like, it was fun.
It was fun.
It was
I mean,
fun.
I don't think it was amazing, but it was fun.
And we said once, I think you said to me once, part 3 should have been part 2.
Yeah, I think so.
Part
yeah,
3
no, I
should have
think
been
it should have
part 2.
been. Yeah, because, it's something new.
Because I don't think it's the fact that I didn't like part 2, it's just the fact that it wasn't as interesting.
It just repeated the same exact thing.
I'm like, oh,
At
we
least part 3
we
did
lost
some-
another person. Oh,
yeah,
boy.
we lost another person. We all know how this is going to end.
Yeah, I'm like,
100%. But, like, but at least in part 3, it was actually, like, something new,
Yeah, it was just, for me, that's what I generally...
That's literally what I got out of it.
That's what I got out of it, too, because for me, I just thought that, too, because for me, it wasn't as interesting.
Yeah, it really wasn't. It
No.
wasn't all that interesting at all.
No.
And, I mean, and yeah, like, comedy movies nowadays, I believe, they're not doing so bad, though, I don't think comedy movies are so bad these days.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
Except for Holmes and Watson, which was...
I heard it was awful.
I heard it was awful, too.
Oh, man.
Like to me, like, those movies are always just really just sad.
Yeah,
They're just
probably.
so
I mean,
sad.
it depends what actor you have. I mean, like Will Ferrell, I feel he just needs to really get his Top Gun with with comedy now.
He really does, and I think the problem is, like, I just for me, like, the first Dumb and Dumber is really hilarious.
Yeah, I heard. I don't know about the second one, but just never saw it. I'm like.
So, we want to give your closing thoughts?
Closing thoughts. Okay. Yes, comedy movies nowadays, you gotta use them the right way. Don't just mix them around too much with, like, movies that need to be serious.
And my closing thoughts are basically, comedy movies need to be more looking into stuff and actually looking into what actually makes stuff funny. And I'm going to close things out with my personal thoughts of the show. It was a very packed show today, and it was very fun, and thanks to Javier Reyes coming on, and it was really fun and really enjoyable. And that's it for Geekly. And remember, as the famous Stan the Man Lee once always says,
Excelsior!
Excelsior, ladies and gentlemen. Excelsior.
Yeah!